And welcome back to ScavTalk, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about skills, which is everybody's favorite cheesing mechanics. There are a lot of them, and I've been doing some investigation whilst being slightly upset as to how low mine are. So we'll be getting into that, as well as
There is a new found bug, possibly abuse, but more importantly, a bug with slow leaning, and it could potentially be getting you killed when you think you should be safe.
fascinating stuff. So, how's it all been going for you, Church? How's your week been going?
Pretty
Before we dive
good.
into the skill stuff.
Kind of just taking. So, like, I think Monday I played with Shouldaville, and yeah, I don't know. I think I just messaged him and be like, dude, let's play Tarkov. He's like, yeah, bro, that's going to be poggers. Let's do it. That's what he said. And I was like, kind of cringe, but anyways. So we played. I TK'd him twice. He got shot in the head by a Taz scav and he logged off. I was like, yeah, that's fair, dude. I'm sorry.
You really TK'd in two
Yeah, I
times?
TK'd him 2 times. Okay. So in my defense, the first time was completely my fault. Okay. He was like, I'm going to push this guy. And I was like, okay, I'm like behind you. And then I see this PMC running like towards my direction. I'm like, oh, it's the bad guy. And I shoot at him. And I'm such a bad shot that I miss him like 5 times. I'm using the Ash. And eventually I get on target and I'm like, man, this guy is so bad. Like I'm shooting at him. He doesn't even react to me. Like, he didn't even check the corners. And then I kill him. And then Shouldaville's like, Church, that's me. I'm like, oh, that's why he wasn't like checking the corners. It's just, okay, now that makes sense. That makes complete sense. So then the next raid that I TK him, this was his fault. So like, Should've, if you're listening, like, you messed up. But I said I was gonna jump over the trailer near in customs at the gas station or like the barbed wire is and push this guy. Should've's like, okay. And then apparently he pushes end gas and comes out the door. So just like kind of like bad timing on that part. So I thought it was the bad guy with Should've again. And then we tried customs again. He got tossed by a scav, like just one tapped Taz. I felt pretty bad for him, and I was like, man, I don't ever want to play this game again.
Yeah, did you literally play like 3 raids or something?
It was like 3 or 4.
Oh
like,
my god!
We also,
it was like this was all in a very short period of time.
I mean, it was like he got like the really short in the stick, but honestly, the raids were just kind of like I didn't have anything to do. He was going for Kappa, so he wanted to kill raiders on reserve. So we did that a few times, but we either got like shot off the spawn or like I TK'd him, something like that happened. I don't know. And then we went customs, just I don't remember why, but just cause, and we were just chatting. But I was just like, I don't know, man. I just not having any goals and like infinite resources, more or less. Just kind of like it's really hard to play Tarkov with like by yourself. I can't imagine it. Sorry, I thought my power went out. And but I did play with friends Friday, and I got long line done, and that was kind of fun. We played like a couple raids.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool. So
solid. Yeah, that's with a group then.
Yeah.
Neat. I still need to unlock it. I'm actually kind of close now. I have 44k XP to go to level 45. It's been a bit of a grind this last little piece. Usually I get stuck kind of between. I mean, it's still better than I've done in other wipes just because of playing a bit more. But I don't really play other than like maybe like a few random raids to do dailies that I think it can be really dull. Other than that, I don't really play out of stream particularly.
Yeah,
so,
I don't blame you.
Like, I'm still playing more, but the rest of the time I'm just doing YouTube and whatever. So it's taken me a while to get this last piece. But what did really help was I think it's like 45k XP you get from doing the guide, which I finally got around to completing. It was like one of the ones that was just like hanging around on the task list that it's quite it's a bit of an endeavor because if you decide to start doing the guide, you can't really stop doing the guide. You know what I mean? Because you're like, oh, you don't want to run like any throwaway runs in between. You can't hide your survives in the quest stash or whatever it is like you can if you're doing like multi-part normal quests. So I kind of had to commit a bit, but I just did it over 2 streams. But it's quite funny. I did say to chat before, I was like, this isn't going to be the most interesting content of all time. Like the very first wipe that I did where I found out about the guide, and I think it must have been like, it was either wipe 2, because I started halfway. My first wipe, I started kind of halfway through. So then wipe 2, I was like getting to grips with stuff and like having a decent full wipe. Then wipe 3 was, I I can't remember which wipe it was that I got Kappa. It was either wipe 3 or 4 or something. But anyway, when I first found out about the guide, it's one of those quests you just think, oh my god, like how is that even possible? Like how's that quest even possible? And you just start to kind of figure it out. But like the first time that I did an actual serious attempt at the guide, I was a bit disappointed because obviously it ends up. I thought it was going to be really exciting. I was like, oh, we're going to be like, it's going to be crazy, like fending off people and like desperately trying to survive through all these maps. And then when you actually boil it down, you're like, it's waiting for finding raid, well, for survive status simulator, which I ended up like, again, I warned chat just being like, we're going to do this in like the path of least resistance, so to speak. So like a bunch of maps basically involved me going from my spawn to a safe place for 7 minutes and then leaving, which like it's the easiest way to complete the quest for sure, but it's kind of like do you know what I mean? Like you don't really feel that satisfied doing it. Like I had a couple of like close encounters where I spotted somebody and they spotted me. Now we ran into somebody at outskirts on woods leaving, and I was like, oh god, and I was down the hill. So if you think of like the woods map or whatever, I was on the west side of because we've turned the map around. Oh yeah, no, I always think of the old woods map, which is why it's confusing because they've like all the new maps have like got it turned around now. Like customs is still the old way. Woods is now, it used to be south of the top. Now it's north of the top, but now the outskirts is at the bottom of the south. Anyway, so on the new map with outskirts at the south, I was on the west side, which is down the hill from the little car. And as I came over the hill and crested the hill, probably my fault really for trying to leave like literally 7 minutes after the raid had started. Because like other people are doing dailies, so you have to be careful. Like if other people are doing dailies, then there's nothing that you can do. I actually I think we're having a bit of an issue here with church's connection. So I'm just kind of monologuing. So I'm going to keep going for the time being. He did warn me that the storms were going through at the moment, and he may end up losing power. So I'm just going to continue talking about the guide for a little bit, and then we'll see whether he gets back in or not. But yeah, so I was down at the outskirts, extract trying to leave, and as I was coming up from the west hand side, somebody was literally like right there on the other side, and we didn't shoot at each other or anything, but like I presume they were probably trying to leave, given that it was like exactly on the 7-minute mark. Was pretty much when, well, it was they were doing exactly what I was doing. Whether it was for the guide or not, I don't really know. I imagine it was just a normal daily. So I figured, right, I can't approach the car because I'm down the hill and they have an advantage on me. So if I just like chill and wait, then I'm pretty sure that they will leave because they can get into a position where I can't see them. I'm just going to wait for a couple of minutes and then I'm just going to run back up because like there's nowhere else for me to go. I have to go all the way around the outside of the edge and then come all the way back in again from another angle, which I just don't think is sensible. So I did that basically, and it ended up actually working out. Basically, they weren't there, and we managed to leave. The other one was on shoreline, so spawned over road to custom side, which is probably the worst size that you can spawn on for the guide anyway, because you have to go through the entire map. Even though you have past the shoreline, you still have to go through the north section. And I ran north, and I bumped straight into a guy who'd spawned in the top right-hand corner. And he was coming south, which is like super, super unusual. Hello, Church. I've just been monologuing about my guide experience.
Perfect.
You back?
Please continue.
I was just saying about, so the first one was basically woods extract and at outskirts where we nearly bumped into someone, but it was at 7 minutes, so I just let them go basically because I thought that they were going to be leaving. Like it was dangerous leaving 7 minutes, like exactly on the 7 minutes after the raid started because other people are doing dailies. So I just like waited, let them go, and then I went, and it kind of worked. I couldn't see them though, so they could get into a position where they couldn't see me. And then on shoreline, there was a dude so I spawned on road to custom side.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy who spawned also road to customs in the top right, in like the northeast corner. And so I ran from basically road to customs where I was. I was like a little bit further up from the mast and that kind of thing. I ran north with the idea to just hide in a bush for a minute and let people go where they wanted to. This guy like crests the hill coming south. I was like, oh man, because like it's really unusual, right, for somebody to come along the wall south from that like northeastern spawn. It's weird. I was like,
Right.
usually he just cuts along the back and comes into resort, or just cuts straight to resort. So we like met each other kind of head on, but like 50 meters. So I just like ducked straight down behind the terrain and like ran sideways and just lay there for like 5 minutes, just waiting for him to go, and then scuttle around the edge. But most of the maps, other than those like couple of small encounters, most of the maps were just a case of me just waiting for 7 minutes or whatever, and then leaving, which was not really thrilling gameplay, I would say. But even still, we managed to just go through, get it done, and got it done all in one go. Didn't die on any of the maps just by playing it. It's like super safe, and you get like a bazillion US dollars and then 40k XP or something. So that's like boosted us a good way up to level 45. So I can't quite do long line yet. But yeah, we'll see. I'm still just trying to scrabble around for XP. Like it feels more in reach now. Like when it was 200,000 XP to level 45, I was like, oh god, that is a lot of XP. Without like the cracked dailies or anything, it does take a while. But with 40,000, I'm like, yeah, this is probably okay. This is actually not too bad. That's 10 decent rays. You know what I mean? Like it's all right. It's all right. So that's kind of what I've been up to. How close is Shudaville to Capo, by the way? He must have
I think
the levels,
he got
right?
it. He got it.
Oh, he did get it. Okay.
Yeah, I saw like yesterday or 2 days ago. He put out a short talking about it. A little funny. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Yes, that's basically where we are. So, as I said, what I've been looking into recently is we talked previously, and it's like kind of rattled me a little bit, the whole skills thing, because I realized that my skills are basically anemic for my level. And I'm like, man, I'm like doing something wrong here. Like I'm not thinking about the skills particularly. I'm in maximum economy much more than the skills themselves. So I'm like, okay, let's like A, have a think about it, B, actively try to level them or whatever. The fact, like, I think because when I revealed, I think it was last podcast or whatever, that I've never had any skills at elite, everyone was like,
it's kind of crazy. Yeah.
You know that gif with like, with all the face palms?
Well, I feel like metabolism is like fairly easy to get. So I'm just like surprised that you don't have it. Like never gotten it.
And I think it's just because I don't loot much after getting max hideout. And I then don't eat or drink stuff because I'm not looting those crates. And I don't take food or drink in with me really. And I've done all my eating and drinking in the hideout. And because I'm not normally there till right at the end, I usually don't need to take food and drink with me. So I just tend not to really eat or drink that much. And I'm not thinking about it. And that's the thing. That's what kind of, I was like, oh, I'm not thinking about it. And I really should be thinking about it, especially for like metabolism, it kind of whatever, but like it's sort of indicative of the rest of the problem, right? Like it's not that big a deal, but strength and endurance is a big deal. And I'm, wasn't thinking about them enough either. So I'm not sure. Actually, I guess this does kind of make the point. So I've been recording a video, which is going out tomorrow, which is not about skills, but it's more about like stims and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But it's got some information about immunity, which we can talk about today, because we said last week that we talk about immunity. So that's kind of also what got me on thinking about skills. Anyway, so when I recorded all the data for that was probably a week ago or something. Yeah, maybe it was a week and a bit ago. And I had level 31 metabolism at that point. And then we had our conversation about it. I don't normally play over the weekend, so I didn't play then. And then I've been playing like on stream and done a few like bits of testing as well around the outside of it. And I've gone from level 31 to level 40 in like 4 days.
That's a lot of
thinking
grinding.
about it correctly. But that's the thing. It isn't actually. It's just kind of like just changing the approach a bit and actually thinking about it. Like it's quite surprising. So I guess, given that we're talking about metabolism, I guess this is kind of a good one to start with, given it's the fastest one. I did not realize how little you had to eat or drink to get the XP for a start. Let's put it that way. So you can drink like, you could probably drink even less, honestly, but you can drink 5 of an Aquamari and that completely maxes it. The XP. You're into like 1%
5 out of
diminishing returns. Like 5 out of
units.
40 or whatever it is. Yeah, 5 units. Yeah. I mean, Aquamari is kind of unfair comparison because it gives you lots of extra. Even now after the nerfs, it gives you more than you'd think. It gives you what, like 10 or 15 hydration for that 5, and also gives you a bit of energy for that 5 too. So it's quite a lot. But I think what a lot of people have said to me, I haven't actually tested this yet, but a lot of people have said that the guys who are like using painkillers the whole time, ibuprofens or whatever, but in particular, golden stars are the ones who get a lot of metabolism XP really early. Like someone in my chat yesterday, I think, was saying to me, yeah, they got max metabolism at like level 20 because they were using the golden stars all the time, because you get energy recovery and hydration recovery. So even though it tanks your energy, like metabolism doesn't care about that. All it cares about is it going up.
Right.
Because it already tanks your energy to start with. You already have something to recover. So even if you use it at the start of the raid, and because it's over 5 seconds, like you've already lost the energy. So you always get it. And if you put it on continuously, I think, how long does it last for? I guess maybe that's not necessarily the case. You have to maybe be a bit careful about it. But actually, maybe that's not true. So it's 350 seconds. Let me just actually quickly do this now, because one of the issues with some of the other things is that if you're looking at debuffs, because that's what I've been looking at for immunity, and we'll get onto that. Immunity is all about debuffs, but the weird thing about immunity is the debuffs get shorter as your metabolism goes up. So it's all a bit weird. But with Golden Star, it's a bit different because it's like 350 seconds, and that's the same basically. It only goes higher than that. And that's, yeah, there we go. So that's, okay, this is why it works so well. So it's 350 seconds, which is 5 minutes, 5.8 minutes. Right, so it's over 5 minutes. So when the Golden Star, it's like a natural mechanism for you to stop getting diminishing returns. You know what I mean? So you put the Golden Star on, you get points into metabolism. You then wait 5.8 minutes because the painkiller effect goes away. You're outside of diminishing returns for metabolism. So you put exactly. So you then put the Golden Star back on, and then you get full XP again. So if you do that all raid, you get like 6 chunks of metabolism per raid, which is crazy. And that's what I've been doing, right? And I was like,
6 points or 6 levels?
No, 6 chunks. 6 chunks of like XP. So when I was looking at it, it seems like when I was using like 5 units of Aquamari or a max energy, because that's what I was doing for immunity, you're getting something like 15 to 20-ish. I didn't actually write that one down, but it's something like 18, 19, I think, roughly. So you can almost get like a level of raid, which is insane. You could probably get even more if you really tried to push it. You were just looking at that. But I think what's really useful about that Golden Star is that there's that natural mechanism that automatically allows you to swerve the skill diminishing returns and gives you the bonus. So I'm sure most people are aware, but the diminishing returns on the skills, if you gain levels into metabolism, you start off when you join a raid with 129% bonus, I think it is, to your skill. And then as you get more XP into that skill, the amount of XP that you can get from that period on decreases in chunks down to, from it's like 129 down to 100%, down to 60%, and it goes down and down and down all the way down to 1%. But this was kind of the point about metabolism, is that you don't need to eat or drink that much to get that diminishing returns all the way down to the 1% level. So you're basically hardly getting any XP at all. And so what you're incentivized to do from a player's perspective, if you want to achieve that skill, is to eat or drink just a little bit, wait 5 minutes, then eat or drink a little bit, wait 5 minutes, eat or drink a little bit. And Golden Star facilitates that automatically just by virtue of the painkiller's time duration. It like just perfectly happenstance. It just perfectly fits into that pathway, and you don't need to set a timer or anything because you know when it's run out because the painkiller effect goes away, so you know to reapply. So anyway, that's been kind of interesting. So yeah, like basically gained, and the first few levels are easy anyway. So I've probably gained more than a third of my entire wipes worth of XP in like 4 days, to metabolism just by thinking about it a little bit, which is pretty fascinating.
So you typically don't use Golden Star every raid?
I'm not a pre-painter. I never have been.
Well, that like kind of makes sense. I mean, because once I get a certain point, I basically do run either Golden Star or ibuprofen 24/7, but ibuprofen doesn't help. But the other part is just eat anything you find like a savage, because that was like one of the earliest Tarkov tips I remember hearing. Is like, yep, just eat anything you find and it'll level your metabolism, and once you get elite, you get some bonuses. Like, okay, so it's kind of like been ingrained in my Tarkov DNA. But
Yeah,
that's
which
an
is
interesting finding about the
it's
Golden
kind of what
Star.
I do, but that's the thing. You have to be looking for the stuff and finding those crates, right? Like I typically don't hit those crates, so it's just the way. Yeah, it's interesting what you say about ibuprofen because there's the efficient. I haven't done the math on it, but like the efficient thing is to do ibuprofen and Golden Star because if you get them down to one,
Right.
then you can turn them into Propitols
Yeah.
in the med station. You only need one usage left on them to do the craft, so it's good. And we had a conversation about that with chat too, and people being like, "Oh well, maybe I'd actually rather like, yeah, that's efficient, that's fine, but maybe I'd rather just have the levels." Honestly, into metabolism, I'm like, yeah, that's fair actually, because like, do you really care about the extra money now? Like, probably not. You know, the getting to max metabolism if you don't have it already, it's probably worth just using the golden stars non-stop. I didn't look at the calculations to see whether it's worth just buying an ibuprofen, just doing the craft anyway, even at full, just with a 1 out of 10 golden star. I'm not sure.
Maybe if you do the barter, it might be worth. There's a barter that's usually saves you a little bit of money rather than just buying ibuprofen.
Oh, there is 3 meds and a blood set.
Assuming you crafted your meds, probably. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's an
then you
Airwing
don't have to
Marine
sell them on the
question.
Flea. Airwing would sell all of his meds and then rebuy them.
Right, yeah,
so
exactly.
to maximize flea market rating. I guess we could almost talk about that at the end. It's still a skill, I suppose.
Skill issue.
No, exactly. Well, I was shocked actually. Friendly guy just put a tweet out about people's flea market ratings and stuff and like different levels, whatever. And I kind of have given up after getting 3 slots.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I
I'm
pushed
still
quite
at 2.
hard to get 3. And then you still at 2. Yeah, well, I was like, oh, I kind of want to get it. So I was rinsing my cash, basically just like crafting moonshine, selling the moonshine. I was doing like the classic thing, right? Buy a water filter. Any water filter you find in raid, sell.
Right.
Buy a water filter from the flea non-find in raid, craft the water, sell the water, buy a water, put it in the booze generator along with the 2 sugars that you've bought. Craft a moonshine, sell the moonshine on the flea market, buy another moonshine, put that in a scav case, and then sell all the stuff comes out of the scav case. So you're just paying fees every single time, but you're basically paying for the privilege of increasing your flea market rep, right? Like the fastest way to do it. And so I did that. I think you just lose like a ton of money doing it, race basically. But I was like, I want to get to 30 rep because it's just such a pain not having it, and it'll probably make me more money afterwards. But then I'm not that bothered about getting to 4. So, but anyway, the long story short, so my reps at like, you know, and I'm playing like relatively often, just in the background while I'm doing scripts and stuff. And so my rep is 34 or something, I think. Oh no, it's 36 now, so nearly 37. And Airwings is like 135 or something. It's
just
disgusting.
crazy.
I was like, oh my god, man, that's insane. And I guess while we're talking about it, I mean, yeah, because it's based on what is it like every. I thought this was the case, but maybe you can correct me because I'm not sure actually. My understanding of it was that you got 1 full point for every million of flea market sales that you made. That was my understanding.
I'd have to go watch a video that I edited that I don't remember the details on.
Because I thought it was that, but chat's saying 50,000 equals 0.01. That sounds maybe more right. Because what would that make a million? I can't remember now because I did actually look at it when I sold a bunch of whiskies, and I was like, oh, I didn't get anywhere near as much as I thought. Because that would imply 5 million for every 1 point. That probably actually makes more sense based on what I was saying. Anyway, I can't remember, but it's a lot. It's a lot anyway. It implies you need to sell an awful lot to get to these high flea market. Oh, that makes sense actually, because then I'm just a doofus because that tallies with. I know that to get to 30 flea market rep, you need 150 million of sales. So that's exactly correct.
I mean,
that makes like Airwing's score is like insane.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like looking at this post of Friendly Guys, everyone's like, I haven't seen anyone with like crazy flea rep, you know, besides like 40, 56. Okay, this guy's actually got 109. That's a fucking lot.
That's a lot.
But Airwing's got what, 125, which I think 120 unlocks 4 slots. Is that right?
Not sure. I'm
I
actually
think
not
it's
even sure.
120. But it's like, God, they like, I don't know. It just seems like even the people that have a shit ton of, okay, actually, Rengar's got 239 market rep. What the fuck?
Oh my
dude?
god.
He
Dude,
plays a lot
Airwings
of
one.
Tarkov, dude.
He does
plays
though. He plays a lot of Tarkov. Airwings one is 625 million rubles of stuff sold on the flea market.
which is a lot, but
That
that's
is
I
so
just
much.
yeah, I don't know. I almost wish they just like delete flea market rep and everyone gets 3 slots and that's it. Because I just feel like 2 is like sometimes could be such a pain in the ass, dude. And then if you
Mine's
get
like
the bug,
185 million even. Like, anyway, you get the bug what?
you get the bug, and then like you try to like you put 2 things up right, and then both of them aren't selling. So then you try to remove the offer, but you get the bug where it's like you have to restart your game to get it to actually remove, like it says it's removed. It's such so annoying.
Do you want to know a pro tip about that one, Church?
Sure.
Do you want to know a pro tip about that?
I sure
If
do.
you go into a factory, if you click to factory, like it actually doesn't really matter what you
Just
do, but I
load
usually click like factory offline or whatever. As soon as you click ready, just press cancel immediately. It'll just bring you back out. You get the little circle in the corner and it'll reconnect it. So you don't have to close the game. It's like really, really good one actually, because that works exactly the same. Because maybe is useful for anybody who's like runs into this next wipe. Just try and remember it in the back of your mind. You know, if you go from level 1 to level 2 by identifying items, and it doesn't give you introduction with mechanic, again, you can go factory offline, click cancel, because like in the early days of the wipe, you don't want to close your game client, right? Because you might not get back in, depending on the state of the servers. So that way you can refresh your quest server, item server, whatever it is, the back end, without doing anything too funky like closing it down or whatever. So yeah, that's the way. But that's a little tidbit.
So jumping back to skills, arguably the 2 most OP, that's probably not true, but the 2 most like sought after skills to get to high levels / elite are strength and endurance. So have you done any min maxing on that part?
I started having a bit of a look. I did a few raids where I actually had like chat just like goofing on me about with the guide, you know, because I was like at the extract on which one was it? I can't even remember. And they were like, "You're going to be dropping your bag and running back and forth." I was like, "No way, there's no chance." Which is pretty funny, but I think that's the thing. Is like because we spoke a bit about dropping the bag, doing the little sprint, whatever. Like I've tried a little bit of that. It's kind of tempting in some ways to try to like. Usually, what I do is I go in, and I don't think I've done actually too badly on this. Given that like distance travel for me is just lower than yours, which kind of makes sense. But going in underweight, running, and then picking up something, and then playing the rest of the raid overweight, like that's okay. That's like satisfactory. That will work. But yeah, I mean, if you really want to push it, I did try a raid. I tried a raid today where I was trying to min max like 5 things simultaneously, just to kind of see. I was like on shoreline, so I had like a bag that was just overweight. I had a bunch of other stuff in it for other things. I was dropping that, just like running around little circles, then run back, and then pick it up, then run around for strength. And you can kind of do. I was doing like 2 stamina bars worth because I think you drop down to 60%, and then I did it again, dropped down to 20%, and then waited, and then picked the bag up, did it with strength, and da da da. But like, it takes a long time. It actually takes a long time. Like you don't get as much XP for in strength and endurance. And I haven't. Again, this is like I'm in quite early stages of actually looking at it. So I was just trying to do it as opposed to monitor specifically like how much I got from doing exactly how much stamina bar and blah 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 blah. And I didn't go up that as much XP as maybe I thought I would. Like metabolism obviously levels really quickly in comparison. So I can imagine you probably only get what like 10 points, maybe like 5-10 points maximum, maybe like maybe 5 or 6. I'm not sure.
Yeah, somewhere in that ballpark.
Like each go. Yeah.
Well, for the first go, if it depends how low you go, because like technically you can. I'm pretty sure you can go to like infinity, like 0.000001. Diminishing returns or whatever.
Right.
But you can only reset back up to 100. So it's pretty easy to get like 2.5 though. Like if you just like speed run the raid, like you can just get that very easily. And
You mean like the first one on each?
Yeah. Like you could, what I used to do in the previous wipe was I would go interchange, run in to the like Goshen, kill a scav, and then run out, then take backpack list and just reset, and you get like 2.5 to 3.5 each time for like strength. And I can't remember which one it is. I think it's, but they might have changed it. I've heard rumors, but one of them you can like get more points if you don't break your sprints. I can't remember if it's strength or endurance, but anywho, the I guess the more important thing, if you will, is just like it as for like power gamers. I feel like where like it's always worth for us to like min max these things because they're permanent. And like I don't know, it's like almost like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of worth it because it's like a hideout upgrade, right? You just have it for the rest of the wipe. So it's like you can, it'd just be really, like I've done, raids where I've dropped my armor and my backpack because I was that heavy. We had like all this player gear. They're like, Church, you're crazy. And I'm just like, Psh, I can make this back any day.
But that's kind of the point, right? It's like the EXP is the ultimate currency in the end game. And that counts for skills too, because as you say, the skills are permanent. You could lose everything and still have max strength.
Right.
And that's going to make the game infinitely easier. Yeah, the thing about the running thing, like I do actually want to have a look at it, honestly, because I've seen so many people talking about this, about like the SJ6. If you do the SJ6 and then you do the sprint, and then if you don't break the sprint, then you get more XP because all of the XP goes into the 129% bucket. But I've had a lot of conversations with people saying that that's not true, and then I'm not even like, I'm just not sure anymore. People have said like both sides basically, and some people have said, oh well, that was because there was like you went faster when you had the stim on and all this stuff. Like it's just there's a lot. So CZTL saying that he's got a vid on it too, so I'll have to go and watch that. But yeah, I haven't like independently verified any of the stuff like myself at this point, but I am suspect about that one. But yeah, it's funny. But like as you're saying, if you only get like 2.5 to 3.5 points per go, you're playing like 30 raids to go one level.
Yeah, right? And potentially you could spend as much time loading into the raid as playing the raid, which is like just feels really bad.
Yeah, it feels terrible. And so for me to go from like 30 or from 50 to up to 51 from 32 strength, it's like 19 levels. If it's going to take me 30 raids each, it's like 570 raids. Well, I haven't even done that many raids.
Yeah.
So, but I think, I don't know, because you haven't done that many raids either.
What did we say last week? 400 and something? 450?
Yeah, like 450 or 470 or something.
Yeah.
And yours is at max strength. So,
but
those better ways of doing it, right, than just doing the run throughs, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was gonna say. Is like that's the thing, as we said, it's permanent upgrade. Therefore, if you start the wipe cheesing this stuff, you're already like ahead of the curve versus like later in the wipe, So like I pretty much made an effort every raid to go in underweight. There was like few raids where I didn't because of my particular kit. I just couldn't like make it work. But otherwise I was like always underweight. And then naturally, if you're like just barely underweight, naturally you're gonna get overweight as soon as you loot one item. So it's like,
exactly.
And as long as you're running your full sprint bar, you'll get I think you get to like 60% ish diminishing returns on your first endurance run.
Seems to be the case, yeah.
And then again, you pick up the stuff and then you drop your backpack. I didn't start dropping my backpack till later in the wipe, but next wipe I'll probably start dropping my backpack and do a full sprint because it's just like, if you think about it, if it takes you like, let's say on average 2 minutes and 30 seconds to get into the raid or whatever, it probably takes you less than 2 minutes to drop your backpack and do a full sprint. It's just like you might as well get that extra stuff, like because previously I used to think, all the juice is at the start of the raid where you get the bonus, right? So I'll just like then max that. But the problem is you spend as much time as you do in the raid as actually loading into the raid. It kind of feels really bad.
Yeah, it's weird. There's like a fixed cost almost if you think about it that way. It's like, oh, there's a fixed amount in the raid, and then you have to play the raid out on like a normal time. But you have to sit there doing nothing, not able to do anything, can't sell anything on the Flea, can't run your scav, can't do quests, can't do anything. You're just out there waiting. So yeah, the more raids the shorter raids you run, the more dead time there is actually in the overall amount of like playtime.
So in theory, I think it's best to like, do as much as you possibly can in the raid, alternating between diminishing returns to get the most possible maximum value out of the raid.
Yeah. Do you want to hear something that's really funny?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So at my min-maxing shoreline raid, I was up by tunnel actually, like up on the scrub brush up by tunnel and between village. And I've actually still got it open. I've got 5 Windows timers open, all with 5 minutes. And they're called, what have I got? I've got Metabolism, Immunity, Assault Rifle, Endurance, and Strength timers. So when I finish one of them, I'd like set the timer and then do whatever else I needed to do. And I remember like your conversation from last time about your friend who's like crazy about min-maxing the stuff with the SKS, like kind of inspired me a bit. And I was like, I wonder how much that works, whether it actually works for getting assault rifle skill or whatever. So I was like, okay, well, let's go in and just try it. So I was like up on the top there, I was like running around, realized actually that while you're doing the running round with the endurance or whatever, you can actually be reloading with a gun now. So you can like sprint with the, so you just like either like going on the assault rifle skill at the same time. And then I was like messing around with covert movement as well. I was like, can I like move with covert movement without getting endurance or strength? I'm actually not sure. I haven't verified this. It seems like if you move too far, you end up getting endurance or strength XP.
It levels.
So it ends up leveling it, which is kind of annoying. But I was like, okay, well, my covert movement is like 4 or something, because you have to be moving at the very lowest.
Yeah,
like you have to be walking at the very lowest sound. Like the only time that I ever use the bottom like bars on the audio is when I'm physically stationary and I want to turn around without squeaking my feet. It's the only ever time that I use that. And I only really ever use the toggle as well for like maximum move speed or minimum move speed. So I use the min move speed, like start moving and turn and then undo it so you don't get the squeaky feet sound effect. Other than that, I don't use it. So yeah, my covert movement is like 4. So I was like, oh, well, maybe we can level this as well. I don't know. Let's just try it. And basically, I was dicking around so much, I suddenly realized the timer was running down. I had to throw all my stuff on the ground because I went MIA because I was like just messing about with the skills so much. I was like, oh no, because I actually bought like a Scar Ellen and a few other bits. I was like throwing it all. I was like, oh no, I don't make it. Like,
it's over here.
I did like throw it over the wall of shoreline. I was like SJ6 myself and ran to the, but I was like, it was way too late, dude. It was way too late. So I was like, funny. I lost an SJ6 because I was just like panicked. Was like, oh, it's more stamina, and I just couldn't make it there. And then I had to throw everything on the ground. I was like, oh my god, this is like actually this is just gremlin-like behavior. This seriously is terrible. But yeah, I don't know. It did make me think about that. It's like, well, if you do go in with an SKS and then start reloading, you get like some assault rifle skill as well. Like it's kind of dumb. I was like, if you go in with a full drum and just start reloading it, I was like, the beauty about the full drum. Well, I actually bought one of the big drums. I was like, the beauty about the drum is that it takes so long to reload the drum that I can genuinely be doing something completely different. While
such as
going like writing scripts or doing thumbnails outside of the game. Outside of the game, like not in the game. Yeah, heaven forbid actually playing the game. Come on.
He said it.
I didn't actually time it, but I should have. But I ran into this like really weird bug, which I actually ended up sending to VSG, which is quite funny. I recorded it because I went in raid with the SKS with a big drum in it, put the drum and the SKS on my character, loaded the whole mag up, took the SKS out, took the drum out to unload it manually in the inventory, and it wouldn't let me. I got some error in the bottom. I was like, item place couldn't be found, blah, 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 some random error message. And I was like, oh, that's weird. So I recorded it and sent it to BSG. I was just like, whoever's like looking at it, it's like steps for reproducing this error. It's just like, I went into raid with the SKS and an empty drum mag. I then proceeded to load the drum mag by hand, and then I tried to empty it. I honestly wasn't trying to cheese the game. Sorry, kind of.
Yeah.
Whoever's looking at it's going to think I'm a proper, some a proper like cheesing bandit or whatever. But
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I don't know what happened. It was weird. Like when I came out of the raid that I was in on that one, some of the rounds had actually been unloaded in my pocket. So I had, even though it said it was full and I couldn't unload them, when I got out of the raid, the mag had 30 rounds left in it and 40 rounds in my pockets. So it had been doing it. It just wasn't up. It wasn't registering on my client. There was like some problem. I'm not sure. So anyway, I did have like the thought crossed my mind. I was like, should I send this? I was like, oh, I'm not doing anything. It's just fine. It's fine. But it's like the inkling in the back of my mind was just like, is this is this goblin like behavior? I'm not sure. But no, it's I don't think it even matters. The shotgun ammo bug, indeed. So yeah, so I had a little go at that. I'm not sure if I can really be bothered to do that, but
yeah, because it levels really slowly, right?
Yeah.
And I misquoted last week. He wasn't at 28 sword rifle skill. He was at like 18 or something. So I was like off by like...
Okay. I mean, it's still pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's like more than double what I have, but
yeah, I don't know. Like, how much? Do you know how much? Because the only thing, right? There's 4 things here, right? Increases reload speed by 2%. Okay, that's pretty good. Increases weapon switching speed by 5%. No one cares. Improves weapon ergonomics by 1%. Fine. Reduces weapon recall by 2%. Okay, that's the one that most people care about. Like, and I'm at assault rifle 6.
If I recall, the recoil control skill, like the generic broad one, is vertical.
That one's horizontal, I think.
Is it?
The generic recoil control, yeah. It even says greater control over recoil reduces horizontal spread, making the recoil more predictable. It's the recoil control skill. Yeah.
That's the quote unquote better one.
The general one.
Yeah. That's really the I guess I had it backwards. I must have told my friend backwards.
The other one I think is both, isn't it? The assault rifle skill is the whole recoil.
I don't know.
CZTL makes a good point. Doesn't horizontal recoil not do anything?
Well, who knows? Because it could be... Yeah, who knows, dude?
Needs a test.
Who freaking knows? God, this game.
The assault rifles one probably does work, because I think that's just an overall recoil improvement, I think. It's like an attachment, I believe. Or like an ammo, maybe. I don't know exactly what it does. I don't know whether it's like an attachment or whether it's like an ammo, because they do work differently, as we've looked at in the past. But anyway, hopefully it gives some improvement. I'm sure it does, because it used to work when people used to get like crazy assault rifle skill, and then they had like meta M4s or whatever, and they had like no recoil.
So interesting. Yeah, that was for the Interesting enough.
That's for the specific class one, though.
Oh, I thought that was the generic one. Back in the day, people used to got the generic one faster. I don't know. They've like nerfed that stuff heavily, but I'm looking at it now. So like for assault rifle, there's the elite perks is steady aim for the first 3 seconds without any stamina condition, whatever the fuck that means. Doubles mastery gain. The most useless thing in Target. Well, that's debatable, but anyways. But you get what, 15% recoil reduction at elite, 10% weapon ergonomics improvements, 40% switching speed, AO, and 20% reload speed. But I don't think anyone's gonna get there unless there's a, year-long and a half wipe.
Yeah, does anyone even get to max on these things? Like,
I've known in the past the recoil one has happened.
Yeah,
but I'm not sure about the specific skills one.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Anywho,
I mean, so that's pretty interesting.
Honestly, if you want, I say go for it, because it's like, as Tarkov operates now, you're kind of just missing out on free skill points at the cost of like virtually nothing. Yeah. I mean, there's a cost, but you can easily cover that.
Yeah, it does cost some money. The only other one really, because like the other skills, like if you look through, there's like vitality, which is not really that useful because it does like bleed chance. It says decreases chance of dying by losing a limb, but that's not in the game anymore. So decreases chance of bleeding. It's like, okay, I don't think anyone really cares about that. Health levels off other stuff. so it doesn't level on its own. It levels from a combination of other things. Stress resistance is like less chance of pain, less decreases tremors. None of these really matter that much. Like perception, attention, like the charisma, these things just level as you play, really. Not much you can do to cheese them, so to speak. Then there's like all the weapon skills.
Right.
Covert movement, mag drills, which takes an eternity and like no one cares about either.
I will say max covert movement is pretty.
It is busted, right?
It is pretty good. I think the one that it doesn't really affect that much is like the metal escalators. Like,
right, yeah, because max covert movement is what it's like 50% decrease in sound on all surfaces or something. Is that? I can't remember.
So it's 60% on common surfaces, which I don't know what that means, but and then 30% on uncommon. So I'm guessing like that's the metal stuff would be like uncommon. But
I guess
it is kind of cool once it's at elite. Oh, it says wait, at elite level, covert movement becomes equally quiet on all surfaces. So I guess you get a 60% on all surfaces, which is pretty cool. But I've seen some videos of people with like covert movement on different surfaces, and like it seems pretty good, except for like the like glass and maybe like whatever the high pitched ones are. I guess it's gonna depend on like your own audio system and headphones and what kind of headphones and game you're wearing. But anywho, it is kind of cool. I mean, I know like the podcast last week was talking about like covert movement, just like having a quiet, like just being silent is like impossible in Tarkov, so you just end up like moving rapidly. And
I mean, yeah, it's true. Right? I agree with them. Right, you're either completely silent, and this is the thing. That's why I either just use like max speed or min speed,
which sucks.
And I only ever use min speed to turn around or if I'm underweight. Because otherwise, if you're overweight, you can be hurt anyway, and then you're better off moving. Honestly, you're better off moving, being not stationary on the floor for multiple reasons. Yeah, you're gonna get shot in the head. Yeah, duh. Yeah, obviously, right. But like also you just being stationary in Tarkov means if someone swings the corner, they get biggest advantage as well. So it's like the double whammy of like you're stationary and they're moving and they see you before you see them. And like, oh my God, it's like terrible.
Yeah.
Like actually the worst. It explains a lot of my prior behavior of waiting carefully for somebody in a building, and the surprise of them coming around the corner and seeing me and having to aim and shoot me in the head is outweighed by biggest advantage. And I end up dying as they come around the corner. And I'm like, okay.
Well, the other thing is like I feel like you're never even quiet enough. That's usually my gripe. It's like, you know what I mean? Like
maybe. I mean, I've been literally stationary though in the past.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But it's hard to know, like, whether did they hear me before I heard them? Like, was I looting?
But like,
and then I stopped, but they knew I was there. Like, it's hard to know.
Were you literally stationary in the most concealable spot possible?
No, I was stationary like in the sort of opposite corner of by the door, right? So because I couldn't move.
That's the thing, right? What if you could move quietly to like a very like secluded place? Like, would that guy still would the peeker advantage outweigh that much greatly?
If you conceal, probably not. I would say if you're concealed.
Okay.
If you're in somewhere obvious, then it's outweighed. But yeah, if you're in a dark corner, then like probably not actually. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. But that does mean that you probably have to play your first 500 raids on one of the bottom 3 notches of move speed. To be fair, you can turn that on and off quite quick. So
yeah, my buddy, dude, he's like because he was leveling cover move the other day too. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's just like slow walking. I'm like, he tells me how to level it and stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, dude, it's
so slow. Like you just have to be on the quietest, because I had a quick test of it today.
Yeah,
you have to just be on the quietest speaker. So there's a little speaker in the corner, and it's like loud speaker, medium speaker, like no volume speaker, and I think the bottom 3 notches are like no volume speaker, and you have to be on that. But it works based on distance, so you want to be standing up, moving at the fastest possible speed to have the speaker on the zero sound speaker icon. Basically, it's like the best way to do it. But the thing is that you could just do it for a bit until you start getting diminishing returns, and then go back to normal again. So it's easy to level in some ways. Like endurance and strength, you have to manage your weight, right? Which is like a bit of an annoyance. Whereas covert movement's like kind of easy, because you just, well, it's easy in theory. easy if you actually want to bother crawling around the map like that, which like I can't be bothered. So.
Yeah, this is like the irony of the situation is like, oh, you want to be a stealthy person? Okay, walk around really slowly but loudly enough to be detected for 500 raids, and then you get to be a stealthy person. Whereas like if you could just like spec into like a stealthy class, you don't have to go through the painful phase of being loudly quiet walking or whatever. It's just like
exactly.
Skill
exactly. Can you imagine that? Just like skilling into like a stealthy
cool.
class, MP5 SD, nods on. Man,
that'd be so cool.
Sick. Yeah, the other one that I wanted to talk about was immunity. Is the one that we've not spoken about yet, because that's the one I did most of the work on, and it goes hand in hand with metabolism, and it's directly related to stims, which is the reason why I was looking at it in the first place. Like immunity, I didn't even know anything about it. Like ignored this skill. I really am terrible with skills, and it's only recently that I've really been paying attention properly. And immunity, I'd completely ignored. And I think I saw Rengar talking about immunity or something, and I was like, "Huh, what even like?" I've not really
Right,
really
what does that even do?
Like, what does it do?
Yeah.
And I went to mine, and it was just like immunity level 0, 0.0 XP. I was like, oh, okay. I really have not looked at this one at all.
Your PMC is just wheezing and coughing constantly. It's definitely
exactly. Terrible immunity. So it does 3 things. One of them, which is pointless, which is decrease of poison's action force. So at level 5, it's like 5%. So I think it decreases poison by 1% per level. Maybe that's okay if you're going for cultists, but like otherwise it's just completely pointless. The second one, which is like kind of okay, but it doesn't matter that much, but it's all right, is painkiller action time increased, and it seems to be like 0.5% per level. So at level 5, which I'm at, like it takes a long time to level, man. But I've got plus 3% painkiller action increase time. So yeah, your golden stars or whatever, like 3% run 3% longer. Okay. And then the final one is the reduction of all negative effects of stims, food, and water by 5%. That's 1% per level too, which is pretty neat. And the thing about that one is that that's actually the same as metabolism. So metabolism has enhances food and drink positive effects, 1% per level, but it also has reduction of the negative effects of stimulants, 1% per level as well. So between metabolism and immunity, you can reduce the negative effects quite a lot. And what's interesting about that is it makes some stims quite asymmetric, because you look at something like, let's say, take the mule, you have 900 seconds of like super strength carry weight and 900 seconds of taking damage constantly and 9% extra damage to everywhere except the head. Well, if you're at level 45 metabolism and 5 immunity, say, I don't know how these stack exactly, but like broadly speaking, you're talking about 50 level points across like the two of them. You're looking at actually halving the amount of time that you're taking the damage and the amount of time that you're taking the extra damage received as well, which can make a really big difference. Like it's those stims that are kind of long, and also the ones that have the negative food and water debuffs. Those are for a much shorter period of time, which is pretty neat. Now,
someone said
when it comes to
CZTL said Albadavlos cocktail could be useful at max if you have both of them at max.
Yeah,
because then only the negative ones they'd be really short. You get a bunch of positive ones.
Yeah, exactly. So max immunity, in and of itself, actually does some interesting things. If you can get it to max,
right?
Which I mean, I just don't even know. It's going to take an eternity. Well, apparently it's 1.1% per level. I don't have a high enough level to actually see that it's 1.1%. So it goes up to 55% at elite. But the elite thing, so it says chance to have immunity to poisons, which, oh, sorry, here we go. Sorry, chance to have immunity to negative effects from stims, food, and water at elite. That's the one. So
you could complete
level, but that doesn't really make any sense. But so maybe that's 55% then. Okay, yeah, sorry, I'm wrong about that. It is 1% per level for the reduction of the negative time, but at elite, you have the chance to be immune to negative effects, which is 55% to be immune to completely not get them at all. That's the thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and so the deal with Abdolbos, I always pronounce it wrong. The thing about Abdolbos is you have 25% chance to get all manner of nasty stuff happen to you, basically. It's one of the most complicated stims.
Yeah.
Where actually is it? Oh, I've got one here. But it is kind of cool because I mean, we
Interesting
may as well go
idea.
through it. Yeah, so you can get one of pain, bleeding, hydration recovery, energy recovery, negative, obviously, damage taken of 20%, or the tunnel vision effect. And it's the longest acting stim with 1800 seconds, which is 30 minutes. It is extremely long. It's extremely long. And it's kind of cool outside of those effects because you get 0.5 stamina recovery. So it's like a quarter of an SJ6, but you get it for basically the entire raid, which just helps a bit. You get 10 endurance, 10 strength, so you can carry a bit more and have a bit more stamina anyway. 20 stress resistance and 20 charisma, not that anyone cares about that. But you lose like memory, intellect, and attention, so it affects your looting speed a bit. But outside of it, like the downsides are not really that bad. But yeah, between like pain, so pain you can just fix with a painkiller. So that's not really a problem. If you're running Golden Star anyway, you won't even notice. Abdominal bleeding, it just happens and you just heal it with a bandage. And then it's gone. So that's no big deal. Hydration recovery and energy recovery is annoying, but it's only like 0.1. So it's not terrible. As long as you've got like food and drink with you or like find stuff in raid or whatever, then like it's not that bad. Damage taken except the head is like that's the real one that everybody worries about because it's like 25% chance to get 20% extra damage for basically the whole raid because it's like 1800 seconds. Sure, it's like, for me, it's nearly half the time now, but that's still 900 seconds. That's like the first 15 minutes of the raid. You're going to take 20% extra damage. Nobody wants to have that. Sucks. And you get that a quarter of the time. But that's the thing. If you have it at elite, 55% of the time you ignore it. And you only get it 25% of the time anyway. So it's like 25% and yeah, chance to have immunity. So if you so I guess it makes it a lot less. It means you're just like much less likely to actually get that activated on you. I guess it's 0.25 times 0.45. Yeah, so it's like a 10% chance instead, I think. Unless I've done something wrong or misunderstood the skill. But anyway, it's a lot less. And even if it does happen, and you're at max on that, and your max immunity, which presumably if you're max immunity, you'll be max metabolism, then that'll be 50% reduction and 50% reduction from metabolism. So it's a much shorter time anyway. So yeah, I mean it's kind of a weird one, the Abdul boss, but it's kind of interesting to me. I don't know. I have been intrigued by it. There's one thing that I found out in doing the thing, and it's in the vid, but I'll reveal it now, which is kind of cool. If you get the tunnel vision effect, it's freaking annoying. Really annoying. And there's basically nothing you can do about it, right? There's no stims you can take that get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no painkillers. There's like nothing that gets rid of the effect. But I tried something because I wonder what happens. And if you use something else with a tunnel vision effect on it, like Propitol, when the tunnel vision effect from Propitol goes away, it goes away from Abdul boss as well.
Oh, really?
And it still says, I mean, it's a bug, right? But it still says on your player tunnel vision effect, but it is no longer active. It doesn't actually happen anymore because I guess there is only one tunnel vision effect, and the ending of the Propitol turns it off.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna expect, as soon as you started the Propitol, it ended the tunnel vision effect, and then once Propitol's tunnel vision effect kicks on, then it kicks on again, and it kicks off once it kicks off for Propitol.
So nearly, but not quite. I mean, it takes a while, right? It takes a while, but it's better than having it on for like 15 bloody minutes. Like, God.
Yeah, I mean, you could like pop both basically, and
because you can see whether you get it straight away, and then you're like, okay, well, I'll put this on because then Propitol then lasts for what's it say? Yeah, delay of 270 seconds, and then it lasts for 30 seconds. So
I don't know. The double sim's like been like an interesting idea to me, but I just don't think it's ever worth the fucking chance to take, what is it, 25% more damage?
20% more damage.
25% of time. I just like
it's a lot.
No thanks. I mean, like the pros have to be like insanely high to like making me 20% more likely to die. Like it just like, you know what I mean? Like it's like, it feels like a suicide run. Like I get it when I have like some gambling to it, but
Yeah. The only way that I can ever see it being sensible is combining, because I've actually been using meldonin recently
Mm-hmm.
in various ways. I used it in a lot of the guide because I was like, well, may as well. I ran the guide pretty light actually. I ran it like quite a light kit just so I could like run about. I didn't really want to be in engagement. So rather than going super heavy so I could fight people off, I just went like really light, underweight with the Gazelle or the TTSK rig, depending on where I was going. And Meldonin. So I'm just like less damage, more stamina recovery. I just want to be able to run. So I don't know. You could almost argue that running both together would be kind of cool. Like Meldonin is 15 minutes, Abdolboss is 30 minutes. Having both at the same time is pretty nuts. Even if you get the damage thing, Meldonin offsets it half. So you'd be running the raid with 10% extra damage rather than 20, because Meldonin decreases it by 10. If you don't get it, then you just get the Meldonin buffs, which is 10% less damage taken. Meldonin gives you 10 strength and 20 endurance. Abdolboss gives you 10 strength and 10 endurance. So you actually end up with like 20 strength and 30 endurance with 0.5 stamina recovery from both. So you end up with like 1 stamina recovery. So you've got half an SJ6 on you for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Which also works for arm stamina too, as I found out in the Volti video that I did recently. So you can just like hold ADS for all eternity. And you can get rid of the tunnel effect with a Propital. Energy and hydration will actually get annihilated because it's 0.1 for both. So you're gonna have to really have some food with you. But pain you can deal with, abdominal bleeding you can deal with. I'm like, it's a maybe. I mean, it's kind of too expensive, so I think there's probably no point. You're better off just running Meldonin, honestly. Like, do you really need all those extra stats? But like, it's a maybe. I just kind of wanted to make it work.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. I mean, the problem is that SJ6 basically is the loot stem because you pop it, you get to the loot hotspots first, if not with the other people that are also contesting those spots with SJ6s as well. And it's like enough, like it's the most fastest way to get there, I guess. You know what I mean? Whereas like Meldonin is kind of like the PvP stem, like, oh, or like the in-game stem, because you get the 10% reduction. And then like all the other stems are kind of just like not those two things, you know what I mean? So it's like they really don't have like a good place. I mean, you can like do some weird combinations to get like a pseudo SJ6 of like some weird, stuff, but like
it's pretty fun actually. You could do Meldonin, Abdolboss, 3 BTG, which is pretty fun. Like the problem with 3 BTG is that it's the same as SJ6 in terms of time. So it's only 4 minutes. SJ6 is 4 minutes and 3 BTG is 4 minutes. 3 BTG you get +1 stamina regen. Meldonin and Abdolboss you get half each. So you get 2, which is what SJ6 is. And that's kind of like a combination of them, plus like some of the benefits and some of the negatives. Like you end up like, to be fair, you end up like stacked up on strength. So if you don't have max strength, you end up kind of balling a bit because you've got like 20 strength and 30 endurance. So you actually end up moving pretty quickly. It's pretty expensive, but you can actually stack all 4 of them.
Yeah, you could.
And then you can just be like infinite stamina basically, which is pretty funny. It's interesting. I was mainly going to talk about immunity, but like I've been using Meldonin a lot just on its own, and it feels, honestly, I didn't think it was going to be that good. I was like, oh, it's like half a point of stamina and like 10 strength, 20 endurance, whatever. It feels awesome. It actually feels great to play with Meldonin.
Pretty good. I think it's kind of a weird stem though, because once you get max strength, you can only go up 10 points past that.
Yeah.
For buffs, and like under that, I don't know if we talked about this before, but under that,
a little bit less time, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're at like 40 or like 41 or whatever, and you pop, a stem that gives you +10, and you're technically at an elite with the buff, you don't actually get that because it doesn't work like that, basically, which is kind of upsetting in my opinion. But so it's like this weird thing, like once you're like, because you can only go up to 60. So like some of those points would be like wasted points, but most of the time you really only care about either the extra stamina regen plus the extra sprint bar, from SJ6 to get to your loot spot, or the melatonin because it lasts so long, the 10% reduction. I mean, the other stuff is like nice to have, but
yeah,
like half the
exactly.
time with SJ6 sucks about it is I'm already looting and I've only like ran for like 40 seconds or whatever. You know what I mean? So like all that extra like stamina, I can't really like, I literally can't make use of. Like I'm looking at them at full constantly, but like I'm searching, I can't do anything. You know, it sucks. But
you'd almost rather it be
like
a
a 90
minute and like a
second,
quarter of the
yeah,
price. Yeah,
yeah, like that'd be great. That'd be perfect
like
for
microdosing this stuff. Like, are you only inject a quarter of it in?
yeah. SJ6 1 out of 4.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I mean, it felt pretty good to me with my skills, honestly, because
Yeah,
like doing Melbourne for me takes me from 25 endurance and 32 strength to 45 endurance and 42 strength,
it's really good.
and plus 0.5 stamina, which I think once you're used to, because you're kind of used to the how the game feels with the stamina regen that you have as base, and then playing with that extra 0.5, I really could feel it. It's just like, when you're normally expecting to run out, you've still got like an extra bit to go
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And like it fills up quicker as well. It's like both things. It's like it fills up faster and you get to go further on the same stamina bar just because it's filling up continuously at a quicker rate. It's just felt
It
really,
kind
really
of
good.
compounds, right?
Yeah, it's just felt awesome. And then because your strength is 10 higher, you're going faster.
Right.
And because your endurance is higher, you've got more stamina bar in the first place.
Yeah.
So the whole thing just feels great. Like it's felt awesome. But I didn't really mean to go on a big rant about like actual stims. I'm more meant to talk about immunity itself, which is kind of weird how you level it. The reason why it's so low for most people, as I've come to find out, is that basically you need a time-based debuff,
Mm-hmm.
and you gain XP in immunity based on the time of the debuff. So the shorter the debuff, the less XP you get. So there's some stims that do it, and there's some food items that do it.
Right.
It's very specific, but all of the stims that I use don't give you any immunity, which is pretty funny. So morphine doesn't give you any because all it does is just give you a one-time negative to your hydration. I think it is. Propital doesn't give you any because Propital is actually just all positives. The only debuff you get is like tunnel effect at the end. Outside of that, it's actually like it's really good because there's no stat-based debuffs, but it means that you don't get any immunity. Like I use Propital all the time, and it's the same with SJ6. You just get tunnel as well. There's no other debuffs for it.
So it
like,
has to be an actual red debuff, and those are ones that affect energy and hydration only?
The ones that affect energy and hydration work as well as any of the others.
What's some of the other ones? Like the Obdobulos bleeding or
Exactly.
Okay.
Now
it's like a separate branch, but there has to be within that branch categorized like a bleed thing or like a tunnel. It could be anything, but it has to be within that red debuff status.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
I see.
Which is kind of strange. So yeah, it can't be like, well, it can't be tunnel vision or anything like that. It has to be like an actual stat debuff. So some weird stuff gives you XP for it. So the negative hydration from croutons gives it to you,
right?
Which is pretty funny
because it's an actual red debuff built within that. Yeah,
exactly.
So it's literally an anti-debuff skill essentially.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about it, so you can get it from like a bunch of food items, but the two most common ones is the Pevco beer, which gives you -3 attention for 120 seconds. So that works. And the other one is max energy, because max energy, I think I can't remember which one it is. It's some random skill that gives you -1 for 300 seconds or something. And you can use that for max energy as well. But the thing about it, so it works with the stims too, like we were saying, it works with Meldonin, it works with Obdobos, and they give you a lot of points when they finish. But the issue with the immunity leveling is that the debuff has to actually disappear. Otherwise, you don't get any XP. So if you leave the raid, you get no XP. If you die, you get no XP. So the debuff has to go away. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like if you put Obdobos on, then you die 25 minutes in, you get nothing if the debuffs are still active, which is very weird. It's very, very weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's kind of a sweet spot, I think. Like max energy is kind of the sweet spot because, but it gets weird, right? It's not like the golden star like we were talking about earlier, because max energy starts as 300 seconds, But then the more metabolism you get and the more immunity you get, the shorter the negative debuff is, which actually then in turn means the less XP you get, bizarrely. So the more you level up metabolism, the less XP you get per usage of those items. So as it gets more expensive to level in immunity, the more points you get in immunity and metabolism because it's decreasing the time, and the XP you get is based on the time that it's active. Very odd stuff. And then it makes it shorter than like the 5-minute reset time for metabolism. So it's kind of hard to like, you have to then keep track of it manually. Like it's a bit of a pest. It's a bit of a pest. But yeah, it's kind of weird. You could technically do it with like whiskey and stuff because whiskey does like minus memory, minus health, whatever. So it's anything like that. But like the stims that people, I started trying to use adrenaline a little bit more as my main stim because it's like minus stress resistance for a minute, and then you have hydration recovery for 50 seconds and energy recovery for 50 seconds. It's like it seems to be that. I don't actually have my table up like to hand, but it seems to be for the most part, if the debuff overlaps with itself, like an Abdol boss, they're all 180 seconds. You get credited just once. But if the debuffs don't overlap, and what's a good example of that is the Gustin. The Gustin gives you metabolism -5 for 180 seconds first. You get credited for that. And then hydration recovery on a delay of 170 seconds, you then have -1.4 hydration for 40 seconds. You then get credited for that afterwards because they're staggered, right? They're like not the same debuff, which is kind of weird. Something that ended up not making it into the video because I've been testing it a little bit more. I drank a Max Energy and a Pevco beer just to see what happened because they don't have the same debuff. And the Pevco beer then didn't give me anything when it finished because Max Energy was still active. So I'm like, oh, is it only on the one thing? Like, does it have to be staggered like this? It can't be staggered internally. I tried Pevco first and then Max Energy. I still didn't get anything. So like, it's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. Just drinking Max Energy kind of does it, but it just takes forever. It just takes an eternity to level up. It takes long.
Just something to bring in raid. Another thing to
bring in raid. I know that. I think like Aaron kind of gave me the idea originally because he was bringing a Pevco beer into every raid, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, for me, with I think it was 31 metabolism and like 4 immunity or 3 immunity, something like that. It was doing something like Max Energy gives you like 1.8. A Pevco gives you 0.7. And like a full Abdol boss gives you 6 points.
That's pretty good.
So that's okay, but that's like 30. Well, I guess it's like 20 minutes later because I had like a third off at that point.
I mean, you could just do like it when you're
get 6. It's like
when you're doing your vitality next swipe. When you're going to skill cheesing. I mean, Shoreline.
The Shoreline Training Center for aspiring Chad PMCs.
Here at Shoreline Health Emporium Resort.
I should make an advert.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. Visit our our barbed wire spa center.
Oh, brilliant.
Okay. I think I'm all tapped out of skills and how they function. I just listening to you talk about some of the intricacies makes my head want to like invert inside of my esophagus. It just sounds God, dude, I cannot wait for it.
I've done my job correctly. If your brain wants to fold in on itself,
yeah,
I'm happy.
Mission accomplished. So, a video caught my eye from our good friend CZTL, and it is about leaning. And I've seen people cover this before. Someone like Tayoff talked about this before, like the slow lean and how it like works with like the server interaction versus like what you're seeing on your clients. And it's pretty interesting stuff. I saw that I think Landmark showed his video on stream or something about it, so it kind of got like spread around a bit. But anywho, I watched this video and I was kind of confused about it. Didn't understand what was happening, but basically, when you slow lean, let's say you're slow leaning to the right, okay? And as you know, slow lean, you can lean in either direction, but imagine, we'll go back to the neutral position. So let's say you're crouched, okay? And you haven't leaned at all. slow leaned or full lean, whatever. So you're at like a 90 degrees angle. Okay. So let's say you slow lean to the right just a little bit. We'll say you're at like 91 degrees. Okay. And it seems like the way it's displayed on the server is there's different steps of slow lean. It's not like exactly like pixel to pixel as you're leaning, if that makes sense. Like it doesn't count every degree. It's sort of like, 95 degrees a marker, 100 degrees is a marker, right? So you kind of like slowly tick over versus on the server versus the client where it's like actually slow and smooth. But the bug that he discovered is when you try to slow lean in the opposite direction. So let's say you're at 92 degrees and you start at 90, you lean that to the right to 92 degrees, and then you try to lean back to 91 degrees. On the server, you just commit to the full final tick all the way over to like 145 or 135, whatever it would be, as if you like fully leaned to the right. But on the client, you are still slow. You're still at that 91 degrees point. So there's some interesting there you could like unknowingly, there's kind of two, this means like two things. One, you could unknowingly, like let's say you're at a corner, right, and trying to peek this guy, so you do a slow lean, but you don't want to like fully expose yourself, and you realize, oh man, I leaned a little too far, let me slow lean back the other direction, that way he can't see that much of my body. But basically if you do that, you have fully committed to a full lean out, even though on your screen you're still like slow leaning back in the cover, if that makes any sense. It's not until you go to I think if you go to 9 degrees, it will reset on the slow lean. Like you'll on the server, you'll reset back to neutral.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, well, if you lean out and then you lean back the other way, you keep going the original direction
all the way. Yes,
all the way. And if you go back to 90 degrees, then like, then the server goes, oh, okay,
right. Now you're back.
I'll reset you back to neutral or whatever.
Which is like, dang, I wonder how many times I've done that and died, and then just like basically committed suicide because I just like fully leaned out, not knowingly. It's kind of crazy to think about.
I don't ever use slow lean against players. Really, it's very rare if I use slow lean against players. It's normally against AI. So do you use slow lean against players a lot?
Yeah, it depends on the situation. If you're like, I mean, like dorms is probably like a good example. If you're like in a, like let's say you're inside a room, you want to like lean just enough to where you can like see out the doorway, but you're still inside the room. It's like a really tight, you're trying to get like a really tight angle, those are like probably the most useful slow lean moments. But otherwise it's like if I'm trying to peek a corner, I'm not gonna like slow lean around the corner. What I mean? There's like certain use cases for it, if that makes any sense. It's like when you want to get a really precise angle.
That makes sense. I think like these days I just feel kind of, maybe this is the reason why, I don't know, like I'm just a bit scared to peek people these days. And be kind of like leaning there and like holding an angle and like waiting. I'm just like super scared that I always just seem to get like shot in the arm or whatever. Like everyone's like, oh, you can't even be seen right hand peeking. And I'm always just like, I always get shot in the arm, whatever. Like I never feel like I'm at a huge advantage. Maybe it's because I'm bad, but it's a skill issue. But I'm sure this doesn't help because I do feel like maybe I've been on the wrong side of this because I've like done these slow leans occasionally and just gone like, oh, I'm just getting like nailed anyway, like down the corridor by somebody. Like this is crap.
Right.
So I often end up just trying to like quick peek instead and like get people's head down or whatever, and then like move instead and like run and try to use the corners to my advantage. Like I don't really play around slow lean at all if I can help it, just because historically speaking, it's felt awful to me.
Yeah.
Feeling like I don't have anything to back that up, but it's just like it's felt crappy, and I always feel like I'm at a disadvantage. So well, maybe there's something in it.
I mean, for sure that it could definitely be the case that you were on the wrong side of the stick. I mean, it's not like I'm it's not like I always slow lean, so I can't have like a big pool to draw from. But Yeah, I don't know. It is weird because I wouldn't say I use it often, but there are times when I do use it. It's far and few between.
What's kind of the ramifications then?
Well, that's one side of it, right? You could be on the wrong side of the stick. The other side is you could be on the right side of the stick. So, um, there is an exploit you could do where this is so I was talking to CZ about it because I think I saw on Twitter he was talking about it as well, and I don't know. There seemed like to me maybe he was like left something in the video. I can't remember, but there seemed to be like some room for some abuse. Is where my mind was going with this. I was like, okay, so there's a disadvantage. There's got to be an advantage to it, like just based off what little bit I can grasp and understand. So I took a buddy in offline raid. I was like, hey, I want to test this thing out. Here's this video, blah blah blah. And basically what you can do is you can do the opposite. So like instead of, so we'll go back to the degrees analogy, right? So you're at 90 degrees, right? And as we stated, if you go like 92 degrees to the right and then you try to go back to the left, which will put you at 91 degrees, you're on the server, your body would have fully moved to 135 degrees or whatever it would be. So if you do the opposite, right? So let's say your goal is to basically peak right, okay? Or set up for a right peak, let's just say. You can lean to the left 88 degrees, if you will, and then lean to the right to the 89 degree point. You're not at the 9 degrees point, which would reset your server model back to neutral. But instead, you're full on the server, you're fully leaning to the left, but on the client, you're at the 89 degrees. So you're not like perfectly vertical, you're just like slightly tilted to the left.
I see.
And you can, what it looks like when you're peaking is like, oh man, I want to do an audio, describe as best I can audio, but you're essentially your head and like part of your thorax are behind cover, but on the client you're just like you're not leaning at all essentially, like, and we were testing it, playing around with it because like you could like do the same like the left side peak, but it's still not really like right side peak is just always going to be good because of how the game works. But like you could potentially use environment where like I think the one clip that I saw on CZTL as well was like he was playing labs and there was like this corridor where there's like pipes going around the sides, and the guy was like basically using those pipes to cover up what would be exposed, which is like his arm, thorax, and legs, like part of his thorax and legs. But like you couldn't see his head at all because he's fully leaning to the left, I guess to the left. But on the client side, he's like just looking normally. So like there's some pretty significant abuse you could do with this. And testing my buddy, I'm like, okay, like one of the things I want to know too is like how easy or hard is this to do and set up? Because if it's like really annoying to do, then it's like probably not gonna be worth for a lot of people to do. Probably won't be used that often, but it's actually very easy to do and set up, I found. And yeah, it's, I don't know, just another reason to gripe about the game, I guess. But it's a very interesting bug. I do feel like when they did the animation reworks, they kind of broke a lot of stuff or unintentionally made changes. I don't know. Like one thing that's really been a question mark, is a bit of a tangent, is the, I call it the gangster shooting, where you like the overhead blind fire.
Oh, yeah.
You can't move and do it anymore, which doesn't, I don't know. It's like, doesn't really make sense. And why they made that change, I don't know. But that's kind of annoying. The same with like the blind fire on the right side.
With right, you can't anymore.
You can't anymore, which is really annoying because you basically like, let's say you try to like blind fire around a corner, but you like undershot, so you're not around the corner. You have to like, oh, pull my gun back in, take a little step, try again. Oh, I'm too far out.
That's pretty awkward.
Yeah, it's like, it doesn't, like, why is my question. So I imagine it's just a oversight. But anywho, yeah, I'm guessing they broke some stuff. I don't know if it used to work like this before and it was just recently discovered. I know like Tayoff is like talked about. He did a video on this subject, but I don't think he came to any bugs. It was just like some weird, more about the ticks, how like the server only updates certain parameters or points. But
yeah, it's a interesting one. It's definitely an interesting one. It's just weird how that ends up coming through. I guess it's just some piece of code going slightly rogue in terms of the way that it's calculating or whatever. But like, that's pretty hilarious that people, or someone in particular, maybe it was just coincidence, but like fighting around a specific piece of L-shaped cover, like particularly tickles me. I don't know. Just like find an L-shaped piece of cover so you can just like hide your body behind it is like pretty nuts. I guess the question is like, how do you know? I suppose the answer is you don't. Like, how do you know when you're vertical
doing it,
or you're like if you're canceling it or not? Like,
yeah, I think the easiest way to like get a sense for it is to go get a buddy and then practice viewing each other, because that's kind of what because you can't see the server state for yourself.
Yeah,
you can only see what your client's seeing, so you really wouldn't have any way of knowing how to do it necessarily. And then once you understand, like the core principle is like how you reset your state. Essentially, if you go to 90 degrees, then your state resets, or anything past that degrees point. You know what I mean? So if you lean to the left 88 degrees and lean to the right 89 degrees, you would be fully lean to the left on the server. But on the client, you're practically vertical, but you're not. But if you do go vertical or go fully on the other side to anything past 9 degrees, then 9 degrees or higher, then you would be either reset or back in the opposite direction. If you sprint, it resets. Not tabbing, I'm sure there's some other stuff that resets it. Jumping might reset it, I don't know. But the most basic one I could think of is like sprinting would be an obvious one that you wouldn't want to do. But like you could, I mean, we were doing it in factory, like I said, and it's just like the shenanigans we were doing. Like he was like, it's kind of annoying to set up. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, look, I did it in 3 seconds. Like, look, I'm peeking you. And he was like, okay, this is kind of busted. Like you could just like, you know, oh, he's behind there's a guy here. Let me set myself up. Okay. And then you just start walking. Like it's like, it takes less than a second, and you just walk around the corner and you have like,
straight.
Not only do you have like peekers advantage, now you have like leaners advantage. It's so bad, dude. Like, oh my God.
That's crazy. We've got the man himself, CGTL, actually in the chat. He says that it's easy because all you do is just very quickly tap twice the one way and then once the other way.
Yeah.
That's the easy way to set it up. Like, okay, all right, fine.
Yeah, and you can you can get it to where you're 98.9 degrees. You know, so it's like you're basically vertical. Like you really couldn't even tell a difference. It's kind of crazy, dude.
Yeah. And very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yeah,
I guess it's a word. It's one of those things again. Yeah, it just needs to be removed. This more shenanigans.
Yeah,
I guess it looks like I did look at the video quickly, but like, it looks really weird when someone's doing it, I guess.
Yeah, but it's definitely like weird, and also like I would not enjoy dying to it at all. But on both counts, right? Because you gotta, you know, the abuse part is one thing, but I can't imagine how many people have like unknowingly shot themselves in the foot, so to speak, because of that. You try to like slow lean back in the cover, or like you slow lean too far out. You want to lean back a little bit, and then you just like fully commit your head out there. The guy's like, "Oh, there he is!" Boom.
So I guess like the takeaway for sensible, legit players, you don't want to like you know mess about. Is
of course.
If you need to reset your slow lean, then use the quick, like the regular leans to reset, and then re-peak out again. You want to be doing it from 90 every time to ensure that your server state is like correctly aligned before you peak. You don't want to be like fiddling around with the peak.
Yeah, if you do slow lean and you go too far in one direction, you need to stop slow leaning and then full lean back the other direction. Do not slow lean at all. If you go too far, just stop. stop what they're
You
doing.
just like, because what I was thinking is like, you do it slowly and I'm slightly too far, and then I'd probably just like do it regularly and just like
Right.
real quick to the left, because that will probably it'll just tweak my character and it'll probably just reset it to the center
Yeah.
actually, rather than even going to the left, and then you
Oh.
can just restart the slowly and just reset it every time. Seems to be the sensible way. That's probably the takeaway that I'm gonna take from this. I'm
Of
probably not
course.
gonna spend time like
Yeah.
learning this mechanic. It's a bit like the dolphin dive and all this stuff. It's like the things that are super game breaking, they always end up getting removed. There's like
Yeah.
no point wasting time trying to learn them, honestly, unless you just want to mess about. But oh dear me, all the more shenanigans.
Yep, interesting thing. I mean, it's really unfortunate. Because those are probably like some of the most annoying bugs, is like where your client and server are not representing the same things, and it's just a really shitty feeling. I mean, to be fair, you wouldn't even know this thing until you could see it, from both perspectives. But I guess once the cat's out of the bag, it feels really shitty.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple of things like that for sure, where with client and server state not connected together. I remember there was one going around a bit ago, which was, I think it was either like a flashlight or one of the NVG lasers or NVG flashlights or something. And what really sucks about that is that if you're playing solo, you literally don't know. And I think it was Dan X who like posted a big thing about it at one point, just saying his teammates were telling him that his flashlight was on and it was off for him. And everyone, you literally just going around the map like a humongous beacon.
Yeah.
And he just had no idea that it was on. And there was one of them that I think was bugged and got fixed or something. But yeah, as you say, you can't ever see this from your perspective. So if you are playing solo, then you might just be dying around it like, oh, how do people know where I am? And this is also, again, it feeds back into the whole cheaters thing. It's just like, oh, dude, there's no way that guy knew where I was. Like, he must be cheating, whatever. It's like, oh yeah, but on his screen you've got a flashlight on. It's like,
yeah,
it's like crazy. Or exactly like you're saying now, right? With this leaning thing, is like the dude couldn't even see my head and he shot me like through the wall kind of thing, whatever. It's like, oh well, but on his screen he could see your head, and when you shoot on your screen, his client is the one that makes the determination, because the hit registration is done locally and then verified with the server. And that's why, and that's why it feel like, other than the slight desync or whatever, it's why the getting headshots feels relatively good in EFT. Like the hit reg is good because it's done locally, but yeah, it's we've seen these issues before. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I guarantee you can make like a fake or like a stage video where you're, it looks like you're behind the wall completely, and then you just get like head eyes, and you're like, what? I'm behind the wall, guys, and then the servers.
Oh God, indeed. Yeah, it's another thing. We just need to report, I suppose.
Yeah, it needs to get sent through the channels.
I'm sure after getting flagged up on Landmark's chat, that's going to increase the number of people doing it, but also hopefully some people will actually go and report it.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they prioritize and triage them.
I don't know why, but I do kind of like seeing like a phase where everyone's doing this new exploit thing, like when the freaking dolphin dive bug was happening. I never ran anyone who did it, but I did like seeing like clips of it, just like some freaking PMC like jumping and like diving in there, his character going everywhere and he kills the guy. That's just like,
I do know what you mean. It is quite funny, especially when it's for a short period.
Yeah.
If it's in the game forever, it's really annoying. But like, seeing the people do like the bunny hop out and then they jump back into like. Can you still do that? I'm actually not sure that you can still do that. You might.
Yeah, you can still change your direction. I try to put it to use, but it's just like it's never really like. It's more. I think it's more on the line of like trick shot, but it depending on. You can get a good scenario where I think it could be really strong, but it's like
you got max strength now, so you should be able to do it.
Yeah, that's the thing too, man. Honestly, I feel like after this is my first, I might have said this last week, I'm sorry for repeating myself, but I just feel like I can't go another wipe without having it, dude. It's so freaking good. It's so freaking good.
And this is the nerfed version.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing, right? It's crazy.
It is nutty. It is nutty. Do you find there's any kits these days that you have to manage for weight, or are you always underweight?
It just comes down to the armor and backpack primarily.
Yeah, true. Some armors are pretty heavy.
Yeah, I mean the helmets, like, yeah, I mean it all adds up, but yeah, like the freaking the Reduct T5, the one that you like with the paracords and the filter.
One, yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. There's just nothing you can do. I'm pretty
It's a
sure.
big boy.
Maybe if you wear like no helm, if you wear like nothing on your head, you might. How much does it weigh actually?
I'm actually looking it up like right now. It weighs 16.5 kilograms.
Okay, so yeah, you could actually probably pull it off if you don't like if you bring like a really light backpack and like a really light headpiece combo. You could probably pull it off for sure. Yeah, I thought I've tried it with a. Maybe I wasn't max trained. I did try it with a Wrist T and a Sega shotgun with drum mags, but maybe the drum mags put me over. I don't know. Oh yeah, because then you gotta wear a rig as well, so that can be a little tricky.
True.
Yeah.
True. You gotta wear the what's it called? I can never remember its name. It's got some like ridiculous name. This rig. It's like the lightest rig. It's got two.
Oh, the silver one.
Yeah, you know which
Thunderbolt?
one I mean. It's got like
Thunderbolt.
It's the maybe it is. I thought it was like it's the load bearing one. I think.
Oh, I'm thinking about the direct action Thunderbolt compact chest rig. That's the one I'm thinking about. I like this rig. That's great.
One. And that weighs. Oh yeah, that's 0.62 kilograms.
Yeah.
So pretty good.
No, I really like that. That was that rig, and the day pack were like the two things I wore the entire life. And what's great about the day pack or the direct action Thunderbolt is, let's say you kill someone and you get really looted. Well, because it's a 3x3, you can put it inside your backpack and it holds 16 slots, and then you can put on their rig, and it's light, so like you can kind of like get a little bit of efficiency, like multiplying your efficiency for it. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not one that I've really used, but yeah, it's decent.
Yeah.
I think I put in my vid about like lightweight stuff or whatever. It was so long ago now that I've forgotten. I didn't even bother using it myself, but it's decent. The one thing that I've continued to use for a bit, I don't use it every raid, but I've been using the TK Fast MT a little bit more because I still have loads left over from testing. People never take them, so when I die with them, I get them back in insurance all the time. I've been using like the tack kek with the ears, the aluminium class 3 ears. And the other day I think I bounced LPS from my helmet the other day, which was pretty nuts.
You just reminded me of something, but continue.
Yeah, it was insane. I got annihilated by some dude with a Mosin. I think it was a Mosin. I mean, it could have been an SV98, but I got annihilated by a guy with a Bolty in 54R because I didn't even see the guy, and he clipped me in the head as I was shooting another scav. Deflected from my fast MT, my tack kek. I then turned and sprinted, like painkillered myself. He then cracked me in the chest, but I was wearing the TTSK, so it just absorbed it. And then like lie down and then like stand up, start to run. The guy gets me again in the chest. I was just like, God damn, dude, this is freaking nuts. Jump through a set of bushes, and the guy like kills me as I'm like, going over where I'll be like cresting over the other side of the hill. I'm like, man, that guy like really knew what he was doing, and it was like cracked with his aim. But I was like, in fairness, my armor did what it was supposed to do. It's like 2 bullets deflected to thorax from a humongous round, and I bounced off the tack kek. I was like, this is it's the min-max kind of absorption of large bullets coming at you at a relatively slow-paced kit. It's like the perfect woods kit, seriously. It's the perfect woods kit. You got like the highest ricochet chances with the ability to absorb like 2 monster rounds.
Yeah.
And while still being super lightweight, I'm still using the TTSK a bunch actually because it's so light. Like you have hardly any stuff inside that you can fit in, but like I don't care about loot anyway. And it's just good. It's got like that on and a day pack, and then something light. It's what I ended up finishing Dog of Shooter with like the light M700. But yeah, I've been doing some been doing some fiddling around with some other guns as well recently, which is kind of cool. Were you going to say something before?
Yeah, so me and a buddy, honestly, offline's been pretty cool to swipe because you could just get to test stuff, you know. So you did the video about, I think it was you, ricochet chances, pretty sure.
Yeah,
right?
it was me. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, because one peg had a video too. Yeah. So, anyways, I was curious about some other interactions, so I tested the airframes because they have the chops, and I've always kind of had a soft spot for the airframes. So I'm like, oh, cool, you can get the face shield, and then because it's class 3. That covers your eyes and jaws, and then you get the chops underneath that covers your ears and jaws. That's class 3. So technically, you have like 2 layers of class 3. Like that's pretty good, right?
Glasses on.
Yeah, right. But we tested it, and based off your findings of like face shield and glasses, it kind of like expected some results, and we got the similar things where, it will. Because I was just curious. I wasn't really curious about ricochet. I was more curious about like what gets counted on the damage. And so if you aim for the jaw hitbox, and this is like really annoying because you had to like tediously sit there like, nope, thorax. Okay, just a pixel higher. Nope, thorax. Pixel higher. So what's cool about it is with the airframe specifically, because it has that, as I said, the chops covers the jaw, and then the face shield that covers the jaw and eyes. If you get hit in the jaws, it will not crack your face shield. It will hit all the damage will go to the chops. Now, that's using like very low caliber rounds.
Okay.
So I don't know what would happen if you did like, I mean, it's kind of hard to test because, if you like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what happened because if you like do anything higher than class 3 pin and you penetrate, well, they're just going to die. And I guess you could like check their helmet, but it's a lot of like resetting and stuff to do.
Well, exactly. That's the reason why we ended up using APSX.
Right.
Because it doesn't kill them specifically.
And if I recall, I think it did zero out the chops because we did do a little bit of APX testing, but I didn't really go too deep into it. But
well, that infers to me. So when we did like the glasses and the Mando mask, the glasses would always get hit first.
Right.
And if there was a ricochet on the glasses, then nothing would happen to the Mando mask. So from what you're saying, presumably, I guess the read through is that the chops get hit first, and then the face visor. So if you hit it with APSX,
seems to be the case.
Yeah, and it was always that way when we did it with the glasses. So presumably, if you hit somebody in the jaws, it'll always hit the chops. If the chops ricochet, it won't do anything to your visor. If it goes through the chops, your visor then gets a chance to do whatever it's doing. Yeah. I guess you didn't do it probably as from the sounds of it, it didn't sound like you did it like as meticulous as we did. Do it with just the chops. Do it with just the face shield. Check the ricochet.
We did do that.
Both, then do both together. Oh, you did. Okay,
but not ricochet chance. I was just testing the cracked part of it. Like, if you hit him in the jaws, does the face shield get cracked? Like how's that interaction work because of the chops and the face shield? And how it seems to work is the chops will get counted first and then the face shield, presumably, once the chops gets to 0. But the point of it all was to see, is the chops even worth doing? And in short, I think it's worth doing because you basically can avoid a crack on your face shield by getting hit in the jaws. Now, if you get hit in the eyes, it's not going to really do anything, unless
you're wearing
glasses,
which also get hit first. They're only class 1, though. I know
they're only class 1. Yeah. But I mean,
if
it's something.
If you get a ricochet,
potentially, yeah. I mean,
sure,
you still get the ringing effect when you get hit in the chops, but you don't get the crack, and that was like the important part. So I think it's kind of worth doing, but it's just something interesting. Maybe there'll be something in the future.
Were you using stuff that was so low pen that it would never go through, and you'd never see the effect of the two?
It was like a Makarov or like a 9mm thing. Yeah. I just wanted to see about cracks.
Yeah, because that's the interesting thing. That was the thing that was weird for me, and it would be fascinating to know if that happens with the chops as well. Is that the ricochet chance on the chops and the ricochet chance on the face shield then when you have them both together, is it just an average of the two? Because that's what it looked like with the glasses. Like, with the angle and stuff, it's notoriously hard to actually get the angle right and whatever. So it's just like a real pain. But
we did a little bit of APXX with Ricochet specifically, but it's really tedious and not fun.
Yeah, tell me about it. Me and Sad sat in offline raids for like 3 hours collecting the data or whatever, and I was just like, as much as I would love to test all sorts of other stuff, I was like, I just don't have time. I don't have time to do this. It's the reason why I never used to do this kind of testing in the first place, and now that I do have time, I'm still just like, right, let's look at this very specific thing, and it still takes freaking hours, dude. And you know what? Sometimes it's because it's like real science, right? You go to start to do something, and then you're like, oh, well, this happens, but now because of the way that it functions, it means that it doesn't, like, you can't do it this way, or the data collection doesn't work or something. Like when we first went in, we did kind of just like a trial run, not realizing that APSX, even though it won't kill you, oftentimes it will give you a bleed.
Right.
And when it gives you a bleed, it then zeroes your head. And then you can't repair it. And so then you have to reset the raid. So then we were like, okay, so we have to basically just be on Zagustin the entire time. So that's what we ended up doing. We were like on Zagustin the entire time we're doing the testing. So we didn't get a bleed, to make sure that we had the head only go to, fractions of a, it was like 0.3 or something left. So Sad could still heal his head up or whatever. And like CZTL saying in chat, like, use the screenshots to pinpoint the angle. But the problem is that when you're looking at a head and you're trying to like aim the gun at someone's head, their breathing like moves their model as well. So it's not like you can just like stay perfectly stationary and just keep firing.
Right.
Like in theory, you could wait for the breathing to come forwards, whatever. I don't know. Like
you got weapon sway. You got
weapon sway. You got their head swaying. Like it's an absolute
hide over bore.
I walked it in most of the time. So the way that we did it for the face shield with the eyes is I had him put on the stuff, turned him sideways. I shot sideways on so that it was always going to hit that hit box, and then I walked it in this way. So sometimes I was firing 3 shots, like bang, bang. And with the TAC Trooper mask, dude, it's freaking nuts because it's like it's out to here. You're like firing through it, and it's like no hit, no hit, no hit. And you finally hit, and it's like, because it's so thick, and the hitbox has got nothing to do with the actual like model of the armor. Oh, it's mad. Going prone? That's not a bad idea. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
You know what gets me about the models is the freaking, not Zabralo, the broccoli, the couch, the coffin.
Oh, the backpack.
Yeah, it's so big. You shoot at someone from behind, you shoot at them, but you're just hitting the top of the backpack. Like, I swear that gets me every time. It's so annoying, dude. I hate it.
Looks it's like over their head kind of thing.
Yeah, like, dude, try to snipe someone in that like that's running with broccoli on their back, dude. It's just like you literally can't. They're prone on the body. You literally can't hit them, dude. They're invulnerable because you can't see their fucking bodies, or they just got this giant green broccoli on their back.
Can never be silhouetted if you're already in your own shadow, you know. Oh man, that reminds me of being outside the other day with my little one, and she's discovered her shadow about a month ago. And it's very interesting and very, intriguing concept, the whole sort of shadow thing. And then you step in the shade, and then the shadow's gone, and then you step out, and then but it's the sun, and it's like, it's just, the whole thing's really complicated. And the sun was kind of like going down around our house, and we were like at the side, and she was like, oh, the shadow's gone, or the shadow's here, the shadow's gone. And like when she stepped out into the sun, I was like, you can see why, like, your shadow disappears because you're in the shadow of the house. Like the house shadow is like so big. And she just looked at me just like, what are you talking about? It was like way too big a concept. It was very funny. It was like, she understands her shadow, my shadow blocks her shadow. Okay, fine. But then it's just like, the house has a shadow? No, you're fibbing to me now. That's too far. That's too far.
That's cute.
It's funny. He just reminded me to think about the couch backpack, like being in the shadow of your own bag.
Ridiculous, dude. Something I had noted a while that I forgot to get to is I figured out how items are sorted down to the science, but I could be wrong.
Oh, okay.
So someone please, feel free to correct me, but there's the first thing it goes to when you do auto sort is there's like a list, right? It's like ammo's at the top, and then all the ammos get sorted. And then there's grenades, and then meds, and then whatever, blah blah blah. Like, and then like even loot has like, tools will be at the top of the list, followed by electronics. There's like these different like, categories, if you will. Mm-hmm. But like, how does it sort the tools within the tools category? How does it decide which tool goes first, which one comes after, et cetera, et cetera?
Decide which ammo goes in what order extremely badly. Let me just tell you that.
Well, I can tell you one of the criterias for it being sorted within its individual category, right? So let's take like tools, for example. And again, I could be dead wrong, but I looked in a lot of different places when I sorted, and it seemed to be the case. But it sorts by date it was added to the game. So the most recent addition will be the last one within the category.
You know what though? That makes total sense because it probably just sorts by item ID. And every time you add to the list, they probably just give it a new item ID or something.
Maybe.
In the database.
I mean, it could work like that. Yeah, I mean, it could work like that. Within yeah, I mean, sort of, because like it still puts like rat poison within the poison family or whatever that chemicals. I don't know what like category it would be in.
Probably from the Flea. When you look in the Flea, there's all the different categories. It's probably that. Like if you, I just sorted an ammo box now.
Yeah.
I don't know whether this even makes any sense. Like I don't know. But it goes like my ammo box goes now SNB, BS, BT, LPS, M80, BP 762, PS rounds for 54R, M61, M62, FMJ, SX, Subsonic SX, Golnik, SPP for the VSS, SS190, Magnum Buckshot, AP20, T46M and BT for 54R, then the TCW round for like NATO.
Okay.
45 Match FMJ.
Okay.
The Flashbang round, M993, APM.
Okay.
AP for Blackout, SSA AP for 556, and 7N40 at the end.
I mean, so
I can
kind of see it. I don't know. I have to like get a timeline of ammos.
Yeah. Is 7N40 the latest round that was added?
Out of that list, I believe so.
I think it probably was. That's funny.
It is hilarious because they were like, no way, dude, that's not right. I'm like, guys, I'm pretty sure. Like, look, okay, I'll go to my food box, sort. Look, the most recent thing is beer. And telling you guys that this is it. Like, no, church, this is impossible. Sort what mods? Go sort your weapon mods right now. Sure enough, it's just funny, dude.
That's mental. That is actually that's really fun. I always wondered because why it wasn't sorted by caliber in the ammo. Like SMB, then BS next for 545, and then LPS. I'm like, dude, what's going on here? But that's the reason.
They could do it like that.
Subcategoried.
Yeah.
It should be subcategory.
It should be ammo type. It really wouldn't.
Because it's annoying the way it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even also sort got Tarkoved. So says the chat.
So yeah, I guess that was kind of it. I had some other things, but maybe we'll save that for next week or something.
Yeah, I'll have to write down the things I was thinking about for next week because they're not really relevant now. So we'll talk about them next time.
I guess really
pretty much bang on.
Really quickly, isn't the Bitcoin farm just like worth it every single freaking wipe? Assuming you start your progression to building it at the start of the wipe. Like the sooner you do it, the better. There's definitely a cutoff where it's not worth. 4 months into the wipe, you may not be able to get a return on it. I don't know the exact math.
Yeah,
but isn't it like just de facto worth as long as the math checks out, you're gonna break even at some point and then start generating profit?
I think so. Especially, it's weird because I think Bitcoin 1 definitely. Bitcoin 2, most likely. Bitcoin 3 is strange because...
Right.
We've probably all seen the Airwing video about I can't remember whether it was about solar power in particular or whether
It
it was about the
was.
Bitcoin farm.
It
It was
was.
about solar power, the standalone. Yeah. Because the items were so cheap for solar, if you built it early, it saved you a ton of money
Mm-hmm.
on fuel because fuel ends up being, depending on which barter you do or whatever, like 120 to 160K, depending on when you buy the items and da da da. But if you build it early enough, now, because it used to be so expensive because it's what, like military power filters, like
Yeah, those used to be rare.
cases, like all that kind of stuff. So you
Right.
still have to get all the euros, but those things used to be super rare and they were like 800, 900K each, and now they're like 50K. So it saves you a lot of money on fuel doing that. And then once you've got it, you're like, well, now Bitcoin, like if you're using your hideout a lot, it pays for itself anyway because you're already using the hideout and the fuel and having it on 24/7. Then you've got it and you're like, okay, well, I have it because it makes sense on its own. So now Bitcoin 3 is like that much cheaper because that's the prerequisite. That was kind of the issue. Like if it was the same way as last wipe, this wipe with Bitcoin where it is, Bitcoin 3 wouldn't be worth it anymore, I'm pretty certain. Because you wouldn't want to have solar power and you also wouldn't want to have Bitcoin 3 either.
Right, because your input for solar power would be like 15 million, and there was no
Yeah.
way Bitcoin 3 plus its own input could cover the costs within a reasonable amount of time
Exactly.
to get it started up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So I think that's why it ended up working out. I still think it's probably worth building Bitcoin 1 pretty much whenever. I think I don't know what the payback time is exactly, but I think it's within a month. So I think it's still like better off doing it than not. At this point, my gut is telling me Bitcoin 2 and 3 don't bother if you're not there already and you're looking at it purely economically. Obviously, if you want to complete it for completionism's sake, which I do anyway, like I'd probably do them anyway, even if it was stupid, right? I like farming for the 50 GPUs. It gives me something to work towards in the early game, and then you've got that consistent amount of cash. Like you could just put that money towards good kits early on, but that's the thing. It's like it's kind of nice if you don't play for a couple of days or whatever. You've like collected a few 100K. It just sort of feels better, even though it's not necessarily economic. And like, what are you going to do with all the money anyway, right? It's like you just kind of want to have an easier time later on in the wipe, especially if you're having like a rough moment. It's like psychologically quite nice to have that income. But yeah, I don't know. Like I think it probably is worth it most of the time. The one thing I was looking at now is there's not really much you can do with the bitcoins. I think that's the biggest issue. Like I've ended up with a huge hoard. I've hardly sold any of my bitcoins at all. I've got this like massive hoard and still sat on. I used 10 of them to get a thick weapons case, 20 of them, which I don't think is even the right choice economically speaking. Because you're better off getting 2 regular weapons cases
and then bartering those, yeah,
and then bartering them up for the thick weapons case, which is slightly cheaper. But the only thing that made a little bit of difference was I already had like 10 GP coins, which I'd had in my docs case, which I died with. So I had 10. I had those coins like non-finite rate, so I couldn't sell them. So they were only worth whatever I could barter them for. Which, like, yeah, maybe I could get like what is it? I can't remember which type of M4 it is, but there's the one with the Altor. Maybe I could have done one of those, but I don't really. I don't know. I could, but I was like, well, I can get rid of them in this barter, and like, it gets rid of some of the Bitcoins. It's kind of close in value. It's not like I'm losing a ton of money.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was like, fine, I'll just do that. But like, otherwise, I mean, I've still got a scav junk box, which is like, I would say it's probably 40% full of Bitcoin still, even after doing that. Which is kind of like, because they took all the Bitcoin barters away when it was so expensive because no one was doing them. They replaced them all with GP coins, but now it's crashed down to the bottom again. There isn't anything you can do with them. All the barters are gone. They're all GP coins now.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a bit sad. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you can just sell them to therapists for 108K each. Like, you can do that. It just feels kind of boring. I don't know.
That was the whole point of doing it, though, for the economic.
I know. I was like, kind of waiting. I was like, I think if it went back to like 120.
See, you're holding on to them because you want to. It's just you just can't take just the fixed amount of the day. You gotta wait till it's like, 3% higher than the norm, and then that's when it gets interesting. You're like, oh, should I do it? Should I wait more? A little gambling demon, you.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's like in some ways, it's like what I did. Was it? I can't remember which wipe it was. When I stopped selling them and started just collecting them because I was like, I just wanted to play without that boost. Just to kind of see. And then I sold them all. I was like 60 million or something because it was in this insane wipe. And in this wipe, it's actually been it's been interesting playing without it kind of thing, and just like having them there segregated, because you can basically like see the wealth that you've generated without having it like in the ruble number, so you can sort of separate it out mentally and be like, okay, well, this is the amount I've made just playing the game. Because I was thinking at one point, because it's just like I have no, like, without the Bitcoin farm, like I don't even think my gameplay is profitable right now. Like it was like this is like the 2 wipes ago or something, and I was like, I just don't even think that I'd be making money without it. So that's why I stopped, because I was like, I feel like I'm developing bad habits here, just buying whatever. And it's the same thing. You're having infinite resources, just like not necessarily that fun, really. What have we even got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've still got 86 Bitcoins. But that's the thing, like right now, that's worth like 9 mil. It's not even that much, right? There's 86 coins, a lot of coins. As I say, it's like nearly half a scav junk box. But it's like 9 million, which is half of the free float cash I've got in my stash. So yeah, I don't know. It's not like I don't need the money.
Yeah.
So I just keep them there, I guess. And then when I get bored, I just turn them into, or maybe I'll just sell them all and get another weapons case. I don't know. Go for thick items or something. I've only got 1, so maybe I need another thick items case.
Yeah, that's kind of, I got like 5 thick weapons, 2 thick items. I want to get another one just to have like a cleaner stash. Like honestly, I'm thinking about next wipe. Assuming a lot of stuff stays the same. I'm debating about not doing the hideout at all and just selling. I'm basically gonna copy the streamers, like the you know, like the people that have like just cash at the top, and that's it. You know, I'm just gonna like see what that's like to play, because then the thought is like you just spend less time in your stash essentially, you know, and your hideout, and like, because it's like, yeah, the hideout makes money, but I have to spend X amount of minutes clicking buttons, which is just like not fun, you know. And it's like, hold up, guys, wait for me. I'm in lobby. Oh, I got 4 things to collect in hideout. Oh, my stash is full. I can't, you know, I have to like move stuff, put it in. It's just like, you know, it's just like another. So I'm just gonna try that and kind of see what it feels like and how it goes.
Are you like not going to use a hideout really?
Yeah, no hideout. Like,
interesting.
Very minimalist on, because like normally, if let's say I kill a player, I loot their gear or whatever, I bring the gun back. Am I going to use the gun? Yes or no? No. Okay, vendor it. Am I going to use any of the parts on it? Yes or no? Yes. Keep the parts. So everything else, you know, keep the parts that I will use. And they just go in a box, right? But like, you know, you do that enough times throughout the wipe, you know, you got to buy more boxes to store more stuff that like you never, you know what I mean? Like I have like so many like kits, Giga. I have so many. It's just like I'd have to like go on like a major losing spree. And then I would still have like money to buy stuff. You know, it's just like it just be like so. And at the end of the day, I'm just spending more time, you know, making my stash bigger, so that way I have to like micromanage moving stuff. Like I kind of see why like the full-time streamers would do that strategy of just, you just have cash at the top, and you, because money is like for you, but particularly this, you know, individual or this type of person, money is like never an issue. So you just click and buy. And again, if you have like a really high survival rate, the trader resets aren't really an issue because you're not dying, losing 180 rounds of whatever ammo that you just bought. So like it kind of makes sense, right?
It does make sense. Yeah, I kind of went through the stash clean out myself a little bit, just being like holding on to all sorts of stuff. Like I've only got 1 thick items case, which is doing me okay. But like it was things like Gen 4 fulls and stuff like this in there, which is like, oh, I didn't want to sell it because like, oh, maybe I'll use it on a factory run or whatever. But like the mobility thing is just so bad. Like I'm just never going to use them. So I actually sold loads of those things. Sold all the class 4 armors out of my stash.
I did the same.
That kind of stuff. And like I'm now starting to get the opposite problem, because I basically run like TTSK rig and the Gazelle just non-stop. And now I've got, you know, I've been running Moonshine a lot to try and get the streamer items, because I'm sort of getting there. Like I've only got a few things to go, like Gingy keychains, some of the really annoying ones, John B glasses and that kind of stuff. But like now, because I'm running Moonshine all the time, I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slicks that I never run. A hex grid. Like it's not that bad, but I've just got like a load of like good stuff in my stash that I just don't ever feel like I'm like, yeah, I could use it, but maybe I should just sell them. I don't know, because I'm just like
they're actually
maybe
pretty
I'll use them at
good.
some point. They are good. They are
This
good.
swipe in particular, because I don't see a lot of people running NATO rounds like the 5.76, the fucking M80, M61, stuff like that.
Everyone's running BP.
Yeah, and BP, it does have high flesh damage, but not like as high as like M62 or like, because M62 is
You
like
can take the stomach.
I think it's like 7 or 6 shots to the stomach. I could pull it up real quick.
Which is a lot, and just on the stomach too. It's like not that big a hitbox, really. Like
yeah,
it's big,
and your
legs are there and the arms are there.
Right, and that means your armor's still good, which it will stop the BP on the, like, you'll probably get what, 2 shots of stoppage on it, 3 maybe.
With the slick, it might even be more on slick.
Yeah,
slick is actually really good.
So yeah, I mean, I've ran the slick a few times. It sucks to get head eyes, but it actually feels pretty good this swipe, because I think last wipe or maybe it was the last wipe. There was just so much M61 going around, it just didn't even matter. It was like not even worth it.
Yes, I mean I'm pretty much only using M61 now. No, that's not completely true, but I'm using a lot of M61.
It's so good, dude.
It feels so good, and I agree with you though. I've not been killed by M61 that much.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. All right, so we got BP 760 by 39. 1, 2, 3, 4.
It looks
5,
basically like
6,
a 4-hit kill.
6 to 7. At 6 shots in the stomach with 762 by 39 BP, you have 19 HP.
Oh, you're doing stomach. I was just looking at thorax.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm looking at stomach only. So 6 to 7 shots. We'll say 6, because bleeds and whatnot.
Yeah, for my my model thing I've been building, I think it looks like there's a very small chance you get 3 shot, but it's very unlikely. I think you're most likely to get 4 shot. But that's
pretty good, right?
That's big.
Yeah.
I think anyway, have I done this right? Oh no, maybe that's not even right. It might actually be worse than that.
The numbers.
There's some manual stuff in here. Yeah, basically I'm still working on my thing. I've got like the pen chance thing and the armor damage thing is all down. I just don't have the blunt damage and the mitigation is the issue. Still working on those. I don't know. I don't even really know where to get started, to be honest, other than asking around. But I'm moving on to other stuff now. But anyway, like, yeah, the slicks are pretty good, I think. So maybe I'll start using them. I've not bought any. I've just got them all from Moonshine.
Oh, really? I've done a couple.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, I'm like, I don't think it's worth doing, but if I see a used psych armor, I'm like heavily tempted to take it out, because you're not, like, you are paying for it. It's a psychological thing, but I think it's only worth like 90K, which is like,
9 slots or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like 10K a slot. It's not really that good, but I can't hold myself. It's like, oh, I got it for free. I paid for it by getting rid of better loot.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, I don't know. It's a funny one, really. It's a funny one, but yeah, I have been enjoying using M61. I've been using a few different guns. We could talk about this next time so that we don't like overrun too much. But
yeah.
As a teaser, I've been looking into some of the like top tier guns in that category. RSAS, G28, some of these things, some of the really expensive guys. Basically, like I'm not fully there with all the research or whatever, but I'm like doing something on the RSS at the moment, because in short, the premise is that these weapons are now much more like palatable because all the other guns are so expensive because everything got deleted off.
Right, yeah.
So it's like nothing happened to the RSAS, but everything else moved up like this, right? So yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, so I've been using the RSAS a bit, and it's been kind of cool. So I'm like having to think about that. I've used the G28 a little bit. I'm like looking at different stats and doing some comparisons right now. So it's kind of in process, I would say. Next week I'll probably have some solid stuff to talk about.
Did I talk about this before, about next swipe using the foul? Did I mention this?
No.
So I was having to think about it because they got rid of the RSS and the M1A, or not
Yeah.
RSS,
And it's
the SR25. And usually once you unlock Flea, that was like my go-to gun was the SR25. But now that you can't do that, and in addition they moved M80 to Peacekeeper
80.
3, you know, now I was like, okay, well, because then like the most logical thing was RFB, but I've like heavily fallen in favor with the RFB, but I was thinking like, what about the SA58? I was trying some builds, looking at some like, you know, pricing early wipe for like these parts and stuff, and like it's I'm gonna do it as a meme, but it's a meme. Okay, let's get it clear. It's not gonna be good. Okay, the SA58 is really bad, especially when it's not meta. But it kind of makes it interesting because now I'm thinking based off the stack, I think the way to go, which kind of went this way, this wipe, it's just gonna be even more pronounced. Is you just use 545 for a long time until you get or sorry. Yeah, 545 by 39.
Well, I used PP, yeah.
Yeah, use PP, maybe BT or BP if you find it. I don't know. Like, you can't sell you can sell BP, but you can't sell BT. So you'd use the BT. But anyways, it just seems like that's gonna be the gun, that and maybe the ump that everyone's gonna be using as far as caliber goes. Cause like the 7.62 by 51 ammos you have is like TCPW or whatever the fuck it's called. It's like one does like
TCW and the other one, yeah.
One does like not enough damage, but just like not enough pin. The other one does like even less pin. Better damage, but it's like we kind of care more about pin. So it's I don't really see. And then you can't use the RSS or the SR25 or M1A because you have to do. I think you might be able to get it from a trader early, like level 2 mechanic or level 2 peacekeeper. You might be able to get like the M1A, but anywho, it's kind of made it. It's kind of the classic thing is like they ban one thing, right? They make one change and then like, okay, what's the next? What's the next highest ranking thing in the class?
Exactly.
Oh, this is so.
I think that's the issue with this one in particular, though, and it just showed like how good the RFP was for where it was with M80. Is that like it disappeared and everyone was just like, I don't know what to do now.
Right.
You know, it's like it's you're like very tempted to just step down to 7.62 by 39 and use PS because you're like, well,
yeah, it did get a buff.
TC rubbish and the other one, they're both 2-shot at best anyway against class 4 or whatever. You may as well get the 2-shot out of 39 because it's so much cheaper and you can use more guns. I think this is kind of the issue, like, because I've tried looking at the FAL myself, but the problem is you can't get access to the cover that gives you the sight mount,
you have to
right?
get,
it's like,
you have to get the short one
or something.
Well, what my plan was is like I'll buy the one that you get from the world, like loot spawns. The one that's short with like the Mo stock. Pray to God that they didn't strip the parts and sell them individually. Pray to God they just like you can snag one off. Like at the start of wipe, it's gonna be like 100K, maybe more. Like everything's inflated at the start of wipe once you get Flea. Looking at Tarkov Market's pricing history. But you snag that, then you go buy a Scav SA58, the long barrel. You strip it down, you put the long, like you do all these like hoops, and you get a really shitty SA58. But it's a full auto. But then you can put in shitty ammo. You can't put an M80 because you don't have X. Like it, like thinking about it all. It's like, dude, just buy an RFB, church. But I'm like, no, it has to work. I have to make this quote unquote work. Sorry.
I've tried. I've really tried.
So bad, dude.
It's so hard to make it function. It's just really difficult. It's at low level. Like I like that idea of grabbing that cheap one though. I think that's kind of cool. But it's not easy. I mean, if you're going to buy that rail, I'm trying to find out where it is even. Like the top rail, the
probably mechanic.
Duty.
Probably mechanic 4, if I had to guess.
4 or 3. I can never find these things when I look on the.
It's a vital part, if that helps. Wait, I think it
Yeah,
is. Maybe
I
it's
thought it was
not.
a vital part.
Anyways.
Maybe it isn't because that's handguards. I'm just like browsing through stuff now. Where's the I literally can't find it. That's the one thing that I wish that you would be shown in the preset system
Yeah, what trader?
is like
Yeah.
what level it's on,
Yes. Yeah.
because it doesn't it just tells you your level, which
Right.
is like really annoying. But anyway, the SA58 Extreme Duty Dust Cover is like the problem. Because if you don't have that, you can't really run anything. You could put something on the front,
You can put it on the front, but
but I hate that, dude. And
yeah.
especially with the recoil of it, you're gonna fire one
Right.
shot, you're never gonna see the reticle again. Like,
I mean, and what's crazy too is like the stats you get from it aren't even that great. I think it's like +2 ergo for getting the rail thing. Like it does like nothing, but that gun is like so far in a dumpster. It's not even funny, but that's a whole
I
nother.
tried using it with like a big scope and just using it on semi, like really
Yeah.
cheap. The same kind of thing. Bought a scav one.
Right.
I think there's a. What was
There's an
my idea?
upper, or there's a receiver for it.
Yeah, there was a
Yeah.
receiver, I think, for mechanic. So I was like, let's do this. You can go and get the lower for 35k for mechanic, a bit like the M4 DAR. You get the lower, you
Right.
buy a scav one, you transfer everything over, and then I was like, okay, well now I need the extreme duty. I basically just bought the extreme duty dust cover, put the hybrid 46 on the front, just like stuck a scope on, and then we just went. It was a great time. I killed someone with it
Wow.
at
Impressive.
range.
Yeah.
It wasn't like point blank. I think I put the 10 rounders in it too. Something stupid like that.
Is it harder? You think it's easier to kill them up close or easier to kill them farther
I think
away?
it's easier further away.
That's the
I think they
question.
have to be really far away because the files like reset time is also god awful.
Yeah.
As well. Like
it has like
really
the one
bad.
redeeming quality about it is you can fit a drum mag on it. That's literally
you can put a drum mag on it, and it has a fun switch. That's basically it.
Yeah.
It's like
that's true.
the
It's
redeeming
full auto,
feature. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a fun button and a drum mag. Oh. Yeah, I've tried, dude. I've tried. It's irredeemable at lower levels. But I'd like to see your attempt. It'd be good.
Yeah. Good. More like pain and suffering times 10. All right.
Head-eye simulator.
I think we wrap it up there.
Cool.
And as always, catch you all next week.
Catch you later.